What is up, guys? Welcome back to Bitcoin Audible. I am Guy Swan, the guy who has read more about Bitcoin than anybody else you know. And we are back with the Roundtable. We have everybody. Steve only got to join us for like the first hour, but we kept going. We've got Steve, my brother Jeff, and my good friend Bitcoin Mechanic. And we dig into a whole bunch of stuff. We do cover the spam war and drama and stuff a little bit, and we talk about this ridiculous article that acts like Luke was actually proposing a hard fork, which he wasn't. But we get into all of that, and a mechanic shares a little bit of opinion on that. But we don't. That's not really the focus of today's episode. We hit a bunch of different news items, some updates on CBDCs, some new and old surveillance laws being used in very bad ways. Protonmail, kind of getting in a little bit of a tussle with Switzerland and maybe even leaving the country to protect themselves and their service. New biometric banking system integrations in Vietnam and a couple of other countries that have resulted in crazy crackdowns and mass account closures and all sorts of stuff. We talk about stablecoins and some new news and movement on the front of moving stablecoins onto Bitcoin in another way, not only on Lightning. And then a little bit of El Salvador versus the IMF, because somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. El Salvador says they're still buying. IMF says they're definitely not still buying. So does that matter? And who do we think is the one that's full of shit? So we dig into all this stuff, a bunch of other news items as well. And it's always good to hang out with the crew. So real quick, just a shout out to ledin.io for simple, easy Bitcoin-backed loans. I really think this is going to be a huge market in the future. The idea of collateralized loans that can be done securely and transparently. And Ledin has made a really fantastic service, of which I am a customer. And of course, pubkey.app, that's PUBKY. Synonym is building a protocol stack for re-decentralizing the web, and they have some amazing tools. Check it out, especially if you're a builder. Then get Chroma for light health. They do red light therapy. They have blue light blocking glasses that I wear religiously every night when I'm working on my stuff here and sitting in front of the stupid screen to help get my circadian rhythm in order. And that's actually made a huge difference. And a lot of other really cool lights. I'm a big fan of the Skylight, the Mini in particular. But check out their stuff and you have a 10% discount with code Bitcoin Audible. And then lastly, the HRF, the Human Rights Foundation, and their Financial Freedom Report, and the Oslo Freedom Forum, and all of the incredible work that they do. Just a never-ending kudos for the work they do and the information and tools they bring together for people for fighting for freedom around the world. So with that, let's get into today's Roundtable. This is Roundtable 13. We've been going for over a year, and we have got an awesome one today. So this is Roundtable 13, from one Zetahash to the Patriot Act with Guy's Roundtable. Guys, how has September been for all of you? Why don't we start with Jeff? What's update with Jeff?
Pretty crazy. I'm doing lots of hip mobility exercises.
Oh my God,
I-
you're old. Oh my God,
Dude.
we're starting off with all of us being old as shit.
Dude, it's so great though. It's so great. It's changing my life. It's making me feel less old. It's wonderful.
What's going on in the Bitcoin space? Well, I'm getting my hip exercises in. And I'm feeling 2 years younger today. I feel like I'm 63.
Seriously though, if you have lower back problems, it's quite possible that the problem is in your hips, especially if you sit in front of a computer a lot.
Yeah.
Your hips are all jacked up, and I had
Facts.
no idea, and it's wonderful. So that's good.
Okay, I'm gonna do hip exercises.
Mhm. It's good stuff. You got to get you some 90-90s happening. You got to do those 90-90s. and couch stretches.
Okay. You'll have to send me a YouTube video.
I will.
How about you, Mechanic? What's up? Any new drama?
Yeah, always drama, always. We'll get into it, of course, because spam wars is always fun. But yeah, we had like TMZ equivalent come after us yesterday. We're like, Luke plans a hard fork. It's like, I have like 8 of those kinds of conversations a week in Signal about, hey, what if we did this and what if we did that? It's just kind of how I learn about how Bitcoin works. It's not the same as actually proposing a fork and trying to do stuff. So, that was fun. Like, there's been this whole week of hit pieces against Luke, which has been, kind of telling, really. The yesterday's one was fun, though, because even, like, Jonas Schnelly and, like, even Udi Wertimer and people that, like, absolutely hate Luke and Knots and all that stuff were like, yeah, this is ridiculous. So, kind of good, really. So,
Which one was that one that they were?
it was the Rage, which is, like,
Oh, wait, that
genuinely-
one actually got published?
I think so. I mean, it
Oh,
got
wow.
published, yeah, and it
I
contains a
thought
bunch
it
of.
was just I thought you sent the screenshot of like the Signal message or something.
Oh yeah. That was in that article, and that and it was just because
Wow.
Steve somehow said something totally out of left field in our group chat this month. He was like, "I'm starting to think journalism is inherently unethical unless it targets the state."
Yeah.
Because like going after private people and telling the world what they're doing is just fundamentally a crappy thing to do. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
You don't have the worst point. That's a good way.
Yeah, right. And like, it's one of those things where defense of it always ends up upside down. It's like, well, someone's got to hold truth to power, but they always end up being a propaganda arm of the state. That's like all the media ever does that we know about. And even social media has gotten like largely captured, right? Because you have algo manipulation and stuff. So anyway, I'm all right. Like Ocean is like 15, 16, sometimes 17 exahash. So we've grown a lot. So yeah, things are moving in a good direction, and I'm sure we'll get into some specifics.
I'm actually really excited. I haven't sent this to you yet, Jeffrey, but we got first pictures of hash huts and the starting to get plugged in for the
Nice.
thing we've been working with. So I'm super stoked about that, and that will actually be on Ocean. So
Sick.
Awesome.
stuff to be plugged in soon. Steve, how about you, boss?
Oh, well, speaking of TMZ, do you guys remember when Charlie Sheen had his very public kind of benders
Yes.
going crazy?
Yes.
Okay,
The
so
winning thing,
Yes.
like double winning, all that stuff.
double
Yeah.
winning.
Did you guys watch the Joe Rogan episode with Charlie Sheen?
No. Well,
Yeah, I watched a clip.
yeah, I watched
a
a
clip
clip
of him like saying crack while getting head is the best
Dude.
possible feeling. Like,
Yeah.
He said you can never recover for like there's nothing. I'm still chasing that high or whatever.
Yeah.
But also he was doing crack and just coating himself in this like testosterone cream. So he's doing crack and testosterone. Like
Yeah.
just that's the
Oh
funniest
my
shit I've
God.
ever heard. Like I'm addicted to crack and testosterone. No wonder he was
Wild.
fucking
sounds like a
Winning.
guy I'd trust to take care of my kids if I ever needed to go away for a bit.
God.
No, but yeah. So that Joe Rogan clip was like a intro or whatever advertisement for the Netflix special. So the Netflix special came out last week, and 4-part miniseries. And man, I don't know, dude. Watching that was just awesome. It got me feeling like, man, I might have a little tiger blood in me too. You know, I'm not sure if I'm bipolar or by winning.
Yeah.
By winning.
Serotonin is contagious, man. When you hang
Yeah.
out with like I remember I met this dude years ago. Like someone introduced me to this dude. Was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm something. That was it. And I felt like in a good mood for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, that guy was so happy
Yeah.
and like just enjoying himself.
contagious.
Like,
Is on
yeah,
It is.
like it's contagiously great.
Other than that, I've been working on a new YouTube live stream for my UTX Oracle project, which is going to be more about showing every single transaction live as it comes, kind of like the bit listen bubbles. I don't know if you guys remember the bit
Yeah.
ding ding ling 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 ling.
Oh yeah. Didn't that become malware at one point?
What's that?
that website got taken over and replaced with malware at one point, and it was like a big scandal.
But anyway, I am making a improved version of that because people loved that, and I can make a better one that shows the new transactions and the entire history of the blockchain at the same time, and the price signal in the chart all at the same time with cool colors and animations, and just trying to get people to run nodes, man.
I like it.
That's dope. I want that on my own node.
Yeah,
100%. Actually, I love that stuff. I'm such a dork for those sorts of things, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I mean, that's a good first topic, because I keep getting into conversations when people are like, people want to talk about economic nodes and like categories of nodes and why do you even run a node? And a lot of people are just like, hey, run a node, verify your UTXOs, and then you don't need to run it anymore. Like NVK said that. I'm like, wait a minute, there's loads of other things you can do with a Bitcoin node, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I'd love to add to the list, get the price with your own source of truth. Because, but I mean, if you want to mine, you need a node. If you want to run a Lightning node, you need a node. If you want to send Bitcoins over.
To check any transaction privately, it just makes a lot
do
of
it
sense.
with your node. Yeah.
Or trade.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trading information.
Trading too.
And coin joining as well. If you want to run a coordinate, you need a node. Like there's a lot of reasons to run a node, and also just being a citizen of the network. Like you want to help other people run theirs, they're going to need to download stuff from someone, so that can be you. So I'd love the US dollar price to be a function.
Yeah, it's been a little
for one of the
noisy
RPC
lately.
calls.
It's still there, but
Is it get price? What are you going to call the RPC?
yeah, man, Luke was joking around about me adding that to knots, man. I'd love to do that one day, but
That isn't a joke, man.
It is.
I think he'll add it.
it is a little noisy though. I'm like, I don't want my reputation to be behind something that kind of like embarrasses me one day, but one day I got to keep working on
Well,
it.
maybe you can add in like
Dude,
uh,
it is wrong to be on this show.
Oh yeah, my reputation's gone.
My reputation
kids-
behind something that's going to embarrass me. Welcome to the Roundtable.
I got tiger blood.
Shit.
Whoops. Yeah, I guess
All
that's
right.
gone.
Well, we got a whole shit ton of news items, and I didn't really get to dig into any of this, which sucks. That was my intent today, but today is the day that Fiat stole from me out of the last 20. So, but one thing in particular that I wanted to bring up, and we can probably just start on this one, is just there was Protonmail. This is so hilarious. This is like peak government. Is Switzerland looks like they're going to be enacting a law. It's called the OSCPT, but it's basically a surveillance law that says if you have more than 5,000 users for like your service, you have to store like this huge list of identity data. You have to retain it for this many years. You have to know it. Basically KYC. It's basically KYC for Protonmail, and they immediately were like, we're gonna have to leave Switzerland, and they're making a huge investment in I think a cluster in Norway or Germany or something, or they're doing multiple ones. They're basically immediately putting their foot out the door, and then the Swiss government comes back and is like, we don't take kindly to threats that you're gonna try to blackmail us with money and say that you're gonna leave. It was like, bitch, their whole service doesn't work. like they can't like this is on Protonmail to have to please the Swiss government because you're doing something that literally negates the entire the raison d'etre of their existence. Like,
We explicitly created this law to go after you. How dare you escape it?
Yeah, you've wasted our time. Like, I understand this. Like, people have. This is. I mean, do you remember Lava Bit? Like, might they just have to
Yes.
shut down because they're like, well, this is.
we can't do anything. There's nothing to do about it. You got to shut down.
Well, this is another thing that makes me. I hadn't heard of this till you said it. I'm a fan of Protonmail. I use Protonmail, and every time they get embroiled in some sort of battle like this, it tells me that they are on the right side of the things they do. Because if they're a honeypot, as some people allege, then they wouldn't be getting into these kinds of problems. They'd be like NordVPN, who just sit there having fun on every single YouTube. Right? Like, you know that's a honeypot because there's no resistance ever to anything. ExpressVPN, NordVPN, make your internet private. Zero faith that that's actually anything there. Whereas Protonmail are constantly getting antagonized by the state. And that makes me think...
Didn't NordVPN have Condoleezza Rice or something working for them? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm serious. Like, wasn't that a thing? Like, it doesn't
Probably.
even, like,
Let me
it
look
could
it
not
up.
be more clear that, like, this is compromised.
I mean,
I doubt people know who that is anymore.
no,
Oh
fair
God,
enough.
are we? Is that another like?
Yeah,
I'm
My
doing
back.
hip exercises. Like we're all my back and my hip
No,
and Condoleezza Rice.
Look, I mean, I like them. They got a Bitcoin wallet, right? It's Bitcoin only. I think there were some cool design elements around it. So yeah, they just seem like bros in general. Like, I like them because they took a terrible protocol, which is email, and made it as good as it can be, and just told everyone, all the haters, go ahead, try and do something better. And everyone's like, well, I don't actually have any better solutions, but still, screw you anyway. That's because that's what people are like. So it reminds me of the whole Ocean battle, because Ocean has things about it that drive everyone nuts. And I'm like, that's because of just how Bitcoin works. Like, we can't pay 8,000 people every single block because 7,000 of them will have a UTXO of 8 Satoshis, which is useless and unspendable in any context. So we have to have a solution to that. And like, that's just the way it is. We can't pay you in a Lightning channel in a Coinbase transaction. Like, so people complain and complain. And I'm like, try and come up with a better design. Like, given the constraints of how Bitcoin works, given the constraints of how email works, come up with something better than Protonmail. Like, technically, your stuff's still in plain text. It doesn't get encrypted until... That's email. Email is a plain text protocol. There's nothing we can do about that. All we can do is get embroiled in constant battles because we're still making things harder for the state than they'd like. And they're coming after us, and we're having to do annoying stuff that we wouldn't do unless we were being performative or we actually meant it. And I'm inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. No, I feel like I had their CEO on the show, and that was actually a really fun conversation.
Really?
Yeah, it's been,
Tell him I
it's
said
been a
what
while.
up.
It's been like a year and something or whatever. But yeah, I think Samson actually had been talking to them or something. They discussed briefly like liquid and stuff like that, because they entertained a bunch of different stuff around Bitcoin. And they went with simple and like dumb reliable, can't break, easy to prove, like non-custodial and all of that stuff, which was just basic Bitcoin on chain. And they just said, I had a good conversation with him, but he was like, Lightning's just not ready. They could not figure out a way to make it what they wanted, where they were not going to be reliable or liable for, operation or a bunch of different things with that. So
Yeah, man. Lightning, not only is Lightning not ready, but Bolt 12 Lightning as well, if you want to really just only use broken stuff. I responded to 45 emails this morning. 45 emails from people that had an issue with getting paid. And it's like, oh man, it's just driving me absolutely nuts. Like,
if I wake up and there's 45 emails in my inbox, I will
Go
not
back to
read them
bed.
for 4 days.
Right.
It will be at least next week, 4 business days minimum
The
before I
trouble
get to
is,
these.
then you'll wake up the next day and there'll be more
Only
than
like
45.
93.
Yeah. They multiply.
You guys will be happy about this. I got my bar on the beta tester group for the new Square POS terminal thing.
I saw
So,
that.
Yeah, aren't
I
you guys
saw
proud
that.
of me? Me,
Yeah.
me,
I'm very proud. That's awesome.
me,
So
the
excited.
skeptical Lightning guy. I'm a good tester.
That's awesome.
I'm going to send them so many failures.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a full complaint letter, and they're gonna get every detail.
Like, why did you want to test? All you do is bitch.
What kind of
It
invoice
sucks.
does it create?
I don't know yet. We'll see. It comes out today, actually.
Oh,
I'm
shit,
looking
really?
forward.
Well, like the beta
Oh.
for testers was
Yeah.
supposed to come out today. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'll come by
I'll come by and buy some. I won't. I don't have the time to do it. But I'll. But in the next, maybe I'll actually make it to the meetup this Tuesday.
Oh yeah, and I have a cool thing going on with the meetups. So my bar has shirts, but it does not have orange shirts. But now it has orange shirts, and there's only one way you can get an orange shirt.
Fixed. Okay, good.
Yeah, you got to.
Yes.
You can only get an orange shirt if you pay for it in Bitcoin.
Oh, that's
So it's not stupid like Raleigh meetup bros. No, it's just bar name crafty, but orange. Cool.
orange.
Yeah.
The orange because it means Bitcoin.
Means something. Secret
Orange shirts.
secret cult inside of a cult bar in the bottom of dive bar.
All right. Let's go down some items. So we got the Namecheap CEO announced that a $2 million Bitcoin payment for their largest ever domain sale used BTC Pay Server.
What was the domain?
That's pretty dope.
Wouldn't tell us
go
the
to Twitter
domain.
post. I didn't see.
No, they wouldn't tell us. They're like, oh, I can't say what the domain is.
Pornhub.io.
Exactly. You know it. That's what it was. That's why they didn't say it.
Can't say the domain name, but it's for English.com. No, they won't say it.
Really?
Come on.
No, they
Where
didn't.
is
They
it? Where
definitely
is your
didn't say it.
damn-
I searched for it because I was curious.
You searched
Yeah,
for it?
I did say
Okay.
I mean, you could
so we don't
probably
know.
figure it out because, like, the domains that are that expensive presumably don't change hands that often.
Mhm.
Like, so I mean, if there was if something got like registered 2 days ago or something, I don't know. Maybe you could figure it out.
Could just be like Michael.com, Steve.com, like some billionaire just really wanted it.
Yeah,
It's like I'm gonna get my name. I'm the Steve.
maybe it was Bitcoin.com.
Right
That's
after I do
gonna
my
be worth a lot.
Exercises.
Do my hip exercises. I'm the Steve. Oh, shit.
Condoleezza.com, just a troller.
Dude, Michael Malice does that. Michael Malice
Michael
buys people's names just to troll them.
Does he? Oh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Of course he does. EasyJet founder to launch Easy Bitcoin after a brand licensing deal with regulated trading platform Uphold. I have no idea if like that's something to be even like interested in, but it's just, it is interesting purely from the sense that like other people or other companies are trying to do their Bitcoin branch. But I have no idea whether to think that's going to be like just utter bullshit or if that's actually going to be a valuable thing. Fold partners with Stripe and Visa to launch the credit rewards credit card. So it's Bitcoin only rewards, no token staking, exchange lock-ins, nothing like that. It's direct to Sats and offering up to 10% back for specific brands. Now, I'm really excited about this. I want to loop back around because I want to get the last item under the business tab. So Tether seeks a $500 billion valuation with a $20 billion private raise for a 3% stake. They announced that they're holding over 100,000 Bitcoin and more than 50 tons of gold in reserves. And the company has announced the launch of its stablecoin on RGB, enabling native stablecoin issuance directly on Bitcoin. So,
RGB, hey, Giacomo will be happy.
I know. I was just thinking I'm gonna message Giacomo and see what he's got to say about that. In fact, we had actually talked about doing a show with him. That would be a perfect thing to bring up.
I am sending
I'm
you a
curious.
message.
Do y'all have comments on any of those before I jump? I want to jump on the fold, and then I have something to say about the Tether thing too.
Why did they? I thought the idea was they were going to issue stablecoins on Lightning. What?
Well, there's Tether on tap. That's Tether.
Taproot assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Tether is on Taproot assets, I guess, and whatever this new stablecoin is on RGB. Is that the right?
I think it's still just Tether, but Tether's issued on like 5 different chains
on multiple
already.
things.
It's like
Fair
Ethereum,
enough.
Solana, Tron. Like I think they're just trying different options for on Bitcoin Tether.
They're going to have on-chain Tether and Lightning Tether.
Yeah, I think it makes sense too because you'll be with Atomic.
I still don't know if I
Atomic
like
swap.
any of this. It's like it's well-meaning as far as I can tell. If I can be that naive on the show, like Tether will use anything as middleware. They just can't run their own ledger because then they're liable for it. So they just need to use something else. It doesn't matter if it's really decentralized or not. So that's why they like run on Ethereum and Tron and like anything else. They don't really care, because then the minute the authorities come and say this was bad, they're like, well, that's not our network. We used someone else's network. So I get that, and it gives them deniability and stuff. And their whole stated intention is like, well, we don't want to give that activity to a non-Bitcoin ecosystem. We want to use Bitcoin for it and give back to Bitcoin, like, because they're Bitcoiners, right? I get that, but it just invites a bunch of like, you know, upside down. It just screws up incentives some way, or at least it changes things. Like if Bitcoin is the host body for all of the Tether activity, I'm like, that's going to affect Bitcoin. It's going to backflow back into that system somehow. It can't just sit on top and not affect the underlying system. And I just can't reason about what the actual effects of it will be. And I'm just naturally hesitant to change in this space anyway. So I'm like, I don't know what to expect from this.
Is there anything on Tron besides Tether? I feel like it's been too long since we've had a Tron scandal. Like I think we need something weird, some news about Tron, but I think they're trying to keep it down because they like just being the Tether network. So they just rename Tron Tether.
Maybe do that. Well, I think that would kind of defeat the purpose of it, because then you don't have that separation. Suddenly Tether's liable. You have to call it Tron.
You could call it USDTT.
Yeah. Tron was one of my first altcoins. Well, no, not one of my first, but one of my favorites. I just loved the marketing.
My first altcoin. That's a meme that needs to be
my
made.
First altcoin.
Like a little kid's coloring book needs to be called.
My first shitcoin.
Altcoins, Feathercoin or something.
Oh my god, I forgot about Feathercoin. Oh my god,
Chris, that dude Chris,
blast from the past.
Yeah.
Did we buy Namecoin? It was like Namecoin.
No,
and
I had
Litecoin
Namecoin.
and-
Namecoin, you mined it whether you liked it or not. Namecoin was merge
Oh, that's
mined on
right.
most of the
Yeah,
pools.
Yeah.
So like I had a bunch of it, and it was because I mined on Ocean V1 Eligius and that merge mine Namecoin. And I remember
I got some .bit domains way back in the day. I was like, oh, Namecoin. Maybe this
about
actually
that. Yeah,
makes
it did.
sense. And then I was like, the fuck, this thing's not doing anything.
Dash? Who had Dash?
Dash.
They sent me a message the other
I never
day.
had Dash, but I did run a
Be a
node.
master
of
node.
Dash. I did run a node.
I hadn't thought about Dash in like 6 years, and then they sent me a message yesterday
No
about
way.
like we want to do a spaces on knots versus core or something. I get a lot of these requests at the moment.
Huh.
I
That's
kind
odd.
of think that the tether thing, the
That's
tether
odd.
thing,
Sorry about that.
the tether thing on Bitcoin, I still feel like it's potentially a positive thing. Like I get what you're saying, that there could be some sort of trade-off that just like makes something evil happen out of all of this. But like I just feel like all it is you're forcing the adoption of Bitcoin infrastructure into the world of people that are using Tether will now be using Bitcoin infrastructure, which means when there's some sort of like major dollar issue, like crisis or whatever, the transition to Bitcoin is just very, very easy. And it will probably mean that at some point banks will end up holding on to more and more Bitcoin just because it's good for their balance sheet. And that is, I mean, I don't know, what do we want to save the banks? But
Hell no.
But like if the economy if you have this like just accidental natural shift to Bitcoin, I can't see how that's a terrible thing. Like the smoother we can make this, the better.
Yeah, I really like Roy Scheinfeld's article actually on this, and especially with like the caveat of like, okay, well, what could the trade-offs be, especially with Tether on Lightning. But we had a really good conversation with Adam Farrington on this one, and my views align very much with his. Is that this is the back door, like this is how Bitcoin adoption happens. I think the big thing to not get right, we have this idea that like the financial system is broken and Bitcoin fixes it. But when you actually dig down into it, like the financial system is like 15 like completely separate systems and architectures and like modes of like the industry itself. It's like saying that like something fixes energy. It's like, well, yeah, but we've got gas, we've got oil, we've got solar, we've got
coal,
we've got like
transmission lines,
hydro, like we've got like there's things that like there's no one solution to these things. All of these things need their own thing related to it in order to like each one of these pieces will go through its own revolution. And one of the big things that we need more than anything is a push payment system. Like the cost every single year from having a pull payment system is worse and worse and worse. There's like an estimate. I looked in like I can't remember what the company was, but did a pretty serious, extensive evaluation on like what the global cost, like what do we pay to keep our pull payment systems alive in like basically the era of identity theft. And it's something like $9 trillion. It's just the cost to keep it not from falling down.
And that's just growing.
And like the damage on like just the personal cost is like in the 100 billion or so of like people that are just constantly getting screwed, who are getting hacked or like having identity theft, or who like even in like estimates of like how much of like money is pulled from people after they thought they canceled a subscription or something. Like just the cost of the way it works is massive. And moving to a key-based push payment system, the fact that you can actually do this around the financial system, in the sense that like you can actually onboard all of the people that have no bank accounts, and that's exactly what's happening. Like right now, it's like I think the outstanding like Tether market or whatever is like $235 billion or something. Fucking like it's a huge portion of even like the entire Bitcoin market cap. Like this is literally Bitcoin software. Like the interaction, the keys, the addresses, like it all works the exact same way. And it's actually a significant improvement over the way fiat works now, because and one of the things, the wording that I used in the conversation where Farrington and I were going back and forth on this was that it's, yes, of course it's censorship. Like you can censor it and you can like block accounts or whatever, but it's actually passive censorship instead of active. Like it's permissionless to join. Like I can just send Jeff Tether with this like crazy staring look on his face right now. Like I can send you Tether and nobody knows who I sent it to. Like now, if it's found out that, Jeff is doing something super suspicious with his Tether, like the company can be contacted and they can like find the address and they can like freeze the balance and all of this stuff. But it's like not KYC up front. It's not a bank, right? I'm not signing up for an account for something. It's just a key-based system where anybody can receive payment. And that's actually like a 5x. Like that's a huge improvement over the way everything works today. And it means that there's literally not a permissioned system. It has a lot of the downsides of fiat or downsides of the banking and financial system, except for like two like really big ones. So it's at least a significant step improvement over what we have now, like provably, like by who can use it, how it's being used, and what degree of like censorship and KYC is involved. And you're also getting every single, if this actually becomes a thing, you have the capacity, you have the potential for private payments in this, because people can actually build on it. I mean, just RGB, it's Lightning. Like if this is actually adopted this way, it would bring in an entirely new market for liquidity, and the ability for other people to just arbitrarily build. Again, still has a lot of downsides on the backside, but it's in a passive way, not an active way. So I think it makes sense if it takes us 10 steps to get to like a Bitcoin standard. I think a stablecoin adoption system is actually 2 steps in that direction.
Well, and my only interaction with stablecoins has been like I had to receive them a couple times so that I could then swap for Bitcoin. And I'd much rather receive Bitcoin in a Lightning address or something, receive them in in a Bitcoin Lightning address and do a swap, have a swap done much more natively than to have to bust out some shitcoin wallet and deal with Ethereum, like, or whatever Tron. It just makes more sense that I would much rather deal with a stable coin than with the bank. The interaction I hated. I had to like do something with Ethereum and have some gas and whatever to make the transaction, but it's still, I did it on the weekend at like the middle of the night and didn't have to like call the bank and get them, yes, I want to do this and please approve and, like kiss anybody's ass to like make the transaction happen in a business day, And so, I mean, I couldn't trying to buy this computer that I just bought. It's apparently, I've changed my bank transaction limit multiple times, and yet somehow this computer was over my limit again, and like they blocked the transaction. So I had to like load.
To call the bank, man.
It was the wrong time of day for that, it was like the weekend. And so I had to like transfer money as much as I could from my traditional bank card to Cash App, and then sell some Bitcoin to also put, like I had to do this stupid thing to get enough money on my Cash App card to make the transaction. And it just doesn't make any sense. Like none of this, like I should be able to move my money where and spend it when I need to. And at least with some sort of stable coin, if I have to interact with dollars, I don't have those problems. And so I would rather it be on Bitcoin, which is operating, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then have to deal with people at the bank. And, the people at my local bank are very nice. I just don't want to have to call them every time I need to do something.
Karen.
I would say there's two different things, because I said it's 2 steps in that direction, and I never even got to what the second major piece is. But I would say just from a purely like interaction point of view is if you want to ask whether or not, or prove to yourself whether or not a world with stable coins with something like Tether is preferable to one with banking and finance as it is today. Like if you compare it to Bitcoin, obviously it's dog shit, because it's just a different type of shitcoin on fiat. But if you compare it to the financial and banking system it is today, it's a huge improvement because it's even worse dog shit. Like it's like stinking, rotting, like dog shit that somebody is peeing on every day. Let's just take the metaphor. Let's just go on with this. Let's just keep it rolling. But there is it, if you right now, if you wanted to move or accept $20,000, like compare it to getting it out of your bank account versus having a stable coin. You can't do the other. You can't do the other. That's exactly right. Yeah. In stable coins, I could do it right now. Especially if it was on RGB, it'd be stupid easy. I could receive it and send it to Jeff, no problem. So the other one is that I think stable coins are actually a Trojan horse for full reserve banking again, because it separates the debt creation and the investment banking from the payment system banking. Because Tether is basically the only full reserve bank that exists in the world right now. Is they actually have bonds, and they actually have gold, and they actually have Bitcoin to cover their balances. And all they do is run a payment network. That's all they do. They just issue a token that people can use to exchange. Tell me what other bank not only has like 80% of their comparable reserves, but has like 4%.
Bank of Steve.
Like we're talking about like the banking system overall is like 40 to 1 leveraged. Like they don't have any of the money anywhere. And I'll also give you another one. This is actually related to one of our, because we have items in our banking thing. So the Bank of England plans ownership caps of 10,000 to 20,000 euros for individuals and 10 million euros for businesses on stablecoins. The BOE proposals reflect concerns that stablecoins could drain bank deposits and show the UK's comparatively cautious stance on crypto regulation. So the Bank of England doesn't want you using stablecoins because it's going to pull money out of the banking system. And they are so leveraged, they can't handle that. They would not survive it. So that's why I think stablecoins act like, again, 2 steps on a 10-step plan. Well, they just announced also a digital ID, and you won't be able to work in the UK if
if you do not have a digital ID by the end of this like parliamentary term or whatever.
UK has fallen, man.
That's
They're
over.
fucked.
That's over.
Yeah.
And you know what it is? You know how all you see is like immigrant hate, like on Twitter and stuff, like people bitching about mass immigration and stuff. That always felt so obvious to me. Like, you've been a racist if you complain about that forever, and suddenly it's mainstream to complain about it. And it turns out the solution to it is give everyone
Digital ID.
government ID, right? We'll stop all these illegal immigrants taking your job. Everyone just needs government ID. Like, who didn't see that one coming, man? I was like, why are they riling everyone up about this? The solution's got
They
to
create, yeah.
Yeah.
it's the Palantir solution, right? Mass
Yeah, that's the
surveillance.
same
Don't
thing
worry.
with
All the
Palantir.
problems. You don't want illegal immigrants flooding into your country? Well, then just tolerate mass surveillance. That will deal with it. Like, it was so obvious that they were going to do that. And here you go. It happened.
Hey, Guy, I got a stablecoin Austrian economics question for you. You know how you go, one of your favorite topics is how economic planning with like a wobbly ruler or something. You need a stable measuring system or whatever for money.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, you know, the opposite position where we seem to be in now, where it's like you can't plan anything with Bitcoin because it's just too good of a money and it just like keeps going up in purchasing power?
No, that's
is that
Alan
a thing?
Farrington
or no?
has a whole debunk of that.
It does, okay.
Did you speak to Alan Farrington about that?
Yes. Actually, no, not in the episode, but I did read his piece about it, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So his whole thing is, people will still spend stuff even with good money.
Oh, I know that.
The Keynesian fallacy is a fallacy.
Oh, yeah, I'm not
right?
worried about
So-
that.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about the planning.
All right.
Like you're planning to build a fence, planning to build a yard, you're planning on your money being worth this much, and then it's just worth way more. It just disrupts your plans.
Well, but is your life more stable or less stable because of Bitcoin?
Oh, it's, no. I'm not. You guys think I'm not. You don't have to convince me about Bitcoin.
You
I'm just talking specifically
but
about
that's
the
what I'm
theory,
saying.
the theory of planning.
Steve is a communist, everyone.
But you're living it. You're living it, right? Like so like if you consistently have more than you thought you were going to have, then it becomes easier to make smart decisions and to delay like the wrong decisions. You know, like if you're not sure about something, I don't have to do this. I'm not trapped in this situation. You have more options in the long run.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, I think that's just it.
Maybe the ruler's not a good analogy though, because the ruler kind of needs to be stable exactly. Whereas like the theory should be then you don't need something stable. You need something that just gets better, that either stays the same or gets better. But ruler has to be exactly fixed.
I would say the misconception or the miscategorization and like what the stretchy ruler means is that this is about prices rather than something to weigh against. Like it's not saying exactly how much because we're dealing with value, not something objective. So it necessarily, like the fact that the measurement like unit or whatever has stayed consistent is exactly how we know that the economy of Bitcoin has grown, because the tape measure is the exact same. It doesn't mean that the quote unquote inches aren't more valuable, I guess, you know.
If Bitcoin's a perfect 21 million and the things are changing all the time in the economy, then you're actually seeing the reflection in the Bitcoin, what you can buy and acquire with Bitcoin, because the economy is what's moving.
Yeah.
It's about visibility into what everything else is doing.
Yeah.
If you do not have like a perfectly stable thing in regards to supply and just overall soundness of its supply.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
You can't see everything else that's occurring. But I get it from the context of like prices, is because the economy is growing so fast when it comes to Bitcoin, because it not only just grows because people are more productive in the Bitcoin economy and people save, but because an external economy is pouring into Bitcoin. So like the volatility is just unbelievable. But the thing is that after Bitcoin becomes the most like the dominant money, it's necessarily going to be the most stable
Yeah.
because it's the most stable in supply. So its desirability, because if its economy grows, everybody wants more of it, means that it's also necessarily going to be that much more liquid than any other currency we've ever had.
I had an idea that you guys will like. So I was thinking about on the menu board at the bar, making a price in Bitcoin that ticks down continuously 1 sat per day, just every day.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I calculated this out, and I'm still going to be crushing it. Like, it's only going to be like 30 cents on a $7 beer for the whole year. But I just want it to mess with people's minds. Be like, why does that prices go down?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That is a great idea. That's a Twitter account. That is a Twitter account. That is itself a Twitter account.
I like being disoriented when I'm drinking alcohol. I like for stuff to change. Yeah. Thanks, man.
I'm actually going to reset it actually, because like after a few years, it's going to be like, okay, it's going down, but dude, it's $100 right now.
Like you don't want to lead it too much, but like I wonder if you could figure out what if you could do 2 sats a day, like you could actually have it tick down in like the middle of the day or something so that people can actually see, like it's not just coming back from one time or another. It's like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's going to tick down. Like so when you have
Ring
the
a
bar
bell.
the most full, the price is,
Everyone's
like
waiting
the
for
price
it.
goes down.
Here we go.
Yeah. Is it $7,022?
Give me a beer. Give me a beer.
Oh, shit.
Not drinking until 5.
Okay, so actually, since we're on banking, let's go ahead and hit these other 2 items. This is the craziest thing to me. Vietnam closes 86 million bank accounts, failing facial biometric verification. 113 million were verified under the new biometric laws. So they closed like almost 40% of all of the bank accounts.
5% of them were pictures of people's dogs, right? Just people holding their dog up
Probably.
to the
I don't
camera.
know. I'm sure. I'm sure that's probably true. But because they did not do facial biometric authentication, and online transfers have been froze, that had been limited to 10 million. I don't know what the currency is. It's VND, Vietnamese dollars, which is actually $379. So you cannot do anything online more than $380, basically, without facial biometrics for every payment.
It's messed up, dude.
So nuts.
That's dystopian shit right there. Stuff.
Yep.
Sorry, YouTube.
Yep. Dystopian shit is becoming normalized. Thailand is basically a similar story. Mass bank account freezes. It sparked panic. Local authorities are trying to target scam and mule accounts. But the Bank of Thailand has imposed a bunch of limits. And they've quote unquote started setting daily digital transfer limits based on customer profiles. So they have selective, customer specific, this is what you're allowed to do with your bank account. Like, just a mess. Anybody want to talk about how shitty the banking system is?
I feel like we've done that to death, to be quite honest with you.
We have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit frightening, though. I mean, I'm like, if I'm getting ready to go to Brazil, that's like a very not.
That sounds like it would be the next one in that bank.
Yeah, like this is
in
not
that list of news items, right?
Terrible. I mean, I guess that my, my Cash App card or whatever will still be accepted there. So maybe I can just keep using everything the way I've been using it. But
yeah,
that's just, it's really
we talked about
freakish.
Terrible banking is almost as much as we talked about spam wars.
Almost close.
Actually, I have to go here in like 10 minutes or so. Can I just say a cool thought that I had this morning about spam war stuff?
Sure.
About 3 years ago, it became kind of popular on Bitcoin Twitter that the biggest threat to Bitcoin was apathy. And so we've definitely survived the threat of apathy.
Fair.
We have. We've made it. We're that is not our
We kind of
risk.
care a little too much
currently.
right now. Nah, I mean, obviously apathy is still a thing. Like, we still got to care and whatever. But I was just like, I'm going to be in this my whole life, man. And like, Bitcoin is just going to be a marathon and not a sprint. And I really like something Mechanic said on last episode that stuck with me, which was like, sometimes I try to envision these people I'm arguing with, like, in the future, I'm fighting a battle on the same side of them, even though I'm on the opposite side right now. Like we saw Udi this morning. I really like that sentiment because not only does it, kind of keep you a little bit more real, a little bit more personal, but it also just reminds you that like there will be a future battle because Bitcoin's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. So Luke, I can't remember his last name.
Dasher?
No, not Luke
Could
Dasher.
you forget that name?
The guy who's got the YouTube account, does a bunch of videos and stuff. I can't remember. It's like
Luke Mickish,
yeah, something like that.
the Australian guy.
Yeah. He got deplatformed. Like he just like no strikes against his account, no nothing. He just got the whole thing.
Didn't like a whole sweeping array of bans of YouTube accounts happen a couple of days ago, and he was one of them? Like,
yeah, there's like a big like they got their algorithm or their AI to go just like wipe a whole ton of people out, and he got mixed up in it.
YouTube do that.
His whole everything is on YouTube. And basically all the Bitcoiners came out and we were all tagging YouTube and like, retweeting and everything. So, and he got his account back. But it made me think, cause I was like watching it at the same time, and thinking about the spam wars. And I would like to think that like, basically if that sort of thing happened, like if X banned Luke or Shinobi or anybody who's like, or Mechanic or anybody who's like big as like they're definitely on this side and they hate these people and like we're at each other's throats, is that the other side would still stand like if Shinobi got banned, I know Mechanic would immediately post a thing and be like, Shinobi should not be banned, this is fucking retarded, like reinstate his account. And I would like to think that would basically be across the board with Bitcoiners. Like even with there was something recently.
Maybe not Portland Hodl. Portland Hodl will be okay with
it. But it was Roger Ver. It was Roger Ver. So like a bunch of the things that were going on with Roger Ver, there were a shocking number of Bitcoiners who across the board basically hate Roger for everything that he's done, who actually came out in support of what was going on, even while Roger Ver was going on like Tucker and doing like stupid Blockstream did it to me, and like while he was still pointing the blame at all the small blockers, like we're the ones who fucking did it to blockers.
That one really annoyed me because he was saying, I'm being persecuted by the US government. It turns out they want to steal a bunch of my money. I was like, dude, like that is everyone in the universe. And he kept saying it was because of his views on crypto. I'm like, no, it's because you're rich and they want your money.
And they're making
it, but there was nothing about that was like the US government wants to target him for Bcash or something like that. Like if they wanted to mess with you, they would seize bitcoin.com for a start. Like, that it's not because of your stance on Bitcoin versus your fork.
It wasn't because you wrote a book about Blockstream, but
that was so ridiculous. And we still, as you say, we still defended him. And people like, there were a few Bitcoiners that were just like, I hate this guy so much that I like the IRS now. I'm like, no way.
Nope, you done wrong. Hey, you done wrong, sir.
Never that much hate.
I definitely hate the IRS more than Roger Ver, but it's so hard to want to defend that guy for anything. But 100% he should not be in jail for 100 years or whatever they were trying. Like, just insane.
Yeah, that was bonkers. That was so retarded.
To me, it's like that film Carlito's Way, though. Like, you survive like 1 million nuclear bombs getting dropped on you, and then this little teenager like runs up to you and stabs you. Like, and you're like, wait, this is the thing that takes me out? Like, so I felt like he's had a lifetime of scamming and dishonesty, and then suddenly, like, he's in Portugal one day, and it's like, hey, we're going to extradite you to America, like, for taxes. He's like, really? This is what I go down for? And us Bitcoiners have to be like, oh. Well, that was the one thing I didn't mind about him, but okay. Like, it's just life works like that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, did you want to say something about Zetahashes, Steve, before you have to roll out of here?
The fact that Bitcoin reaches Zetahash is so mind-blowing from like, it's kind of like almost too big to see it in a way. Like, first of all, the number Zeta is one of the largest numbers that we deal with. Like, the only time in science or physics or chemistry or something you're dealing with a number that large is when you're talking about like number of atoms in a molecule or something. But like, that's not something you can actually count and measure, or like number of stars in the universe. But that's not really something that, especially every single person running a Bitcoin node, could just measure and count. And like, these numbers aren't like useful for our lives. Like, they don't go into our economic daily planning activity. Like, we don't use these numbers. So like, just this number, it's the largest number. It's the most accurately measured number. It's the most independently measured number. It's one of the most important economic numbers in the world. And it's just like, this is just bizarre. Like, and this isn't a number that we got to by like splitting a stock or like changing the units or something. Like, this number was low and it counted up to Zeta, and we all watched it count. And we can all measure this number independently with perfect accuracy every 10 minutes. Like, this is just mind blowing from the simplest version of the scientific method. Like, observe a measurement, record a number, write down the number, share it with others. Just from that very simple idea, this is the greatest thing humanity's ever done by several orders of magnitude. And I just think that's so awesome. And that's not even
And
like
it's per second, right?
Yeah,
per
block,
second.
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
How has your species counted?
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
we just you know.
And then from the
I think we got a lot of big numbers. We got some of the
we got
biggest
so
stuff.
many.
We got
We got
a lot of
We
big
got the
numbers.
biggest
We
numbers.
have the biggest numbers. Nobody's ever had numbers as big as us.
We got better music. We got bigger numbers. And huge. And then from the just raw computing power perspective, this is another people that you're just, it's too astonishing to believe. But if you were to combine every single other computer in the world together and measure its computing performance against Bitcoin network, it wouldn't come close. Like, every single other computer, all the supercomputers of Google, IBM, all that stuff combined, like if you even measure something simple like arithmetic operations per second, like that's what most computers are pretty much designed for. Arithmetic operations per second compared to hashes per second in Bitcoin. Every other computer in the world, Bitcoin. Like, that is just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just think it's people, I don't know. It's like surreal. You know, it's just like, is that really? Jeez. Is this really happening right now? Like, or maybe I think about this stuff too much, but I wish other people could like see
It's
that
both.
amazingness.
It's 100% both.
That I see. I'm just
Winning.
like, oh my God, we're really doing this.
Here's the crazy thing. Is that you could carve this into stone. You could carve the current state of the blockchain into stone and put the hash. You could put the Coinbase hash up there, and you would have to be an advanced civilization to understand it, but you could prove that it existed. It would be like, and I've heard this example. I think there's like an article like even called this. I don't know. I'd have to dig up. I've done like 1,300 of them or some shit. But about the fact that Bitcoin is like the pyramids of our time.
Yeah.
And it's comparative to it exists in the universe that we have created,
Mhm.
like on the internet in the digital world. And like what's nuts is that the hash alone, like just the hash, just that 64-bit number or whatever, at the top of a block, written down in like carved into a piece of stone, is proof of all of it.
Yep. It's
It's
proof of
proof
so much energy.
Like you found this,
Yeah.
and there is no other way to find this other than that amount of compute.
Yeah.
Like just the staggering level of complexity and
Yeah.
improbability of that, and there's no other way. It's like rolling snake eyes, or you're like getting struck by lightning like 15,000 times in one day. You know, like it's
Yeah.
just it's beyond comprehensible, and it's so wild that any copy of it that exists, that survives anywhere,
Yeah.
ever, for entirely into the future, somebody can just look at that hash and they can know.
Yeah.
They can basically say one fucking Zetahash. Holy shit.
You'd have to include in that artifact what
The first hash.
what the algorithm was,
Yeah.
what SHA-256
Yes.
was.
Yeah. They wouldn't be able to verify it, obviously.
You'd also
without-
need like the Genesis hash and then all the.
But if you added unrolled the SHA-256 and stuck that on at the beginning, then they could do it. They could reconstruct the entire thing from that. You would just need to say, here's the algo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's wild.
But, all right, guys. Yeah, my sister flew in from Australia, so I gotta go meet her. But don't get
All right.
too crazy with spam wars. All right, keep it cool.
All right.
All right, see y'all later.
This is my
Later, dude.
therapy, man. I got a trauma dump pill.
Gotta get it out.
I gotta stretch my hip.
Gotta get it out.
I gotta. All right, see y'all later.
Make my hip exercises.
Bye.
You don't actually have to sell your Bitcoin to access its value. You can actually borrow against it very easily without selling it. But when you do this, you need to be careful. You need to do this with a company that is trusted, one that has survived a bear market, and one that will literally show you that they have the coins, that they have proof of reserves or some mechanism where you can look at your balance and know that it is safe. This is why I've been a huge fan and a customer of Ledden for a few years now. So one of the Bitcoin-backed loans that I got a few years ago to finish renovations and the basement and studio in my house, I would have paid 3 times as much Bitcoin had I just sold it, as it now takes me to just pay off the loan. And that's if I sell the Bitcoin to pay it off, which I think I'm going to be able to get equity out of the house and pay off the loan and get all of my Bitcoin back. This especially makes sense if you're making an investment. If you're doing something that is going to pay you income in the future, or if you're investing in Bitcoin mining, it's a whole lot easier to beat the interest rate if you loan against the Bitcoin and keep the Bitcoin. Ledden also makes this like crazy easy. Like if you went to do this right now, you could probably get the money by tomorrow. They do proof of reserves twice a year, and I check. It's a very easy process. And you don't have to do monthly payments if you don't want to. You can just accrue the interest and pay off in chunks whenever it makes sense. And best of all, they just recently got rid of all the noise. They had some other features. They had Ethereum loans. They're like, nope, chop it. They had a yield product. Nope, chop it. They had loans where you could get a lower interest rate and they didn't have it on their books. They lent it out. Nope, chop that. Now it's just custodied, fully backed Bitcoin loans. Doesn't work for every single situation or every person, but there are some times where this is an incredibly valuable tool to have. Don't overextend. Remember, Bitcoin is volatile and read the details. But if you need access to your Bitcoin's value and you just don't want to sell, Ledden is a brilliant and simple tool for doing exactly that. And I've been a happy customer for a couple of years now. You can check out the links right down in the show notes. It's LEDN, Ledden.io. So this one, I kind of wish we had Steve for this, but this one, I haven't even said anything about this on Twitter yet. But I really feel like we need like Bitcoin businesses to get behind this and actually take a stance. Because if this actually like goes through, this would be a disaster. Is the U.S. Treasury is moving to apply all of the Patriot Act rules to digital assets.
to just Bitcoin
Oh,
and
fuck.
Bitcoin in like a blanket sense. So all privacy tools would be on public blockchains would be illegal. So if you use a mixer at all, which I always do, like necessarily, I pay people. I work on a Bitcoin standard. I can't possibly have every single person I pay or interact with or receive payment from be able, like I have to have some sort of a barrier to protect from savings or protect from the rest of my business account. Like they can just like watch all like that's retarded. That's insane. Like, no, I have to mix. I would have to go to liquid or something, which would I would need some other alternative because I cannot just have it so like it's on a public blockchain that everybody can just see everything that I'm doing in my business account. And like this is such bullshit, and I don't want to see like this is exactly like every single time we've lost major freedoms is when the people defending it have been specifically defensive rather than offensive. I want to see every single Bitcoin business like say something about this. Like no, this is insane. This hurts our customers. This hurts us. This puts everybody in danger. And this is going to make the $5 wrench attack. You're going to have so many people who get broken into, and families who get held at gunpoint, and wives who have been raped. While just be like, you're going to pay us. You're going to pay us all your fucking crypto, or we're just going to abuse your family. We're literally just going to torture your family. Like this is not like hypothetical. This is literally happening. Jameson Lopp has a whole fucking GitHub just keeping track of every single one of them. One of them was not 20 miles from my fucking house. Like, and they're going to tell me that I can't protect my goddamn privacy. Like, fuck you so hard. And if River and Swan and Binance and every other goddamn company in Bitcoin doesn't stand up and actually say, this is stupid, you're insane, this is putting people in literal physical danger. Like, I want to see those fucking tweets because this is messed up. This is totally messed up. You're saying that's not like, oh, we need to do KYC like privately in your bank account to know you, which is itself dangerous enough. This is, you have to be publicly traceable by anybody who has a fucking internet connection. That's messed up.
Kill your customer.
Yeah.
It's just unspeakably horrific. There's nothing more to say than what you said. I can't take it at all. Like, there's no way around it, man. I don't know. Everyone needs their own strategy to get the target off their back. And they can't even talk about it publicly when they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's fucked up is like there's so many ways to get around things, but if you talk about a lot of
that
them,
you're getting around them, yeah.
You're just painting yourself as a target. It's so it's so gross. Like the whole thing is fucked.
I don't know what to say about it. It's black pill stuff, man.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, we went from very high with the Zetahash thing to very low with this. This is just very dark.
Let's do something in the middle now. Let's do
That's
something
necessarily when you're talking about Bitcoin and then you're talking about banking and government. That's basically how you do, right? Yeah, we're not talking about Canadians seized a whole bunch of customer funds. Go figure. Canada's lost. Sorry, McKinnon. U.S. Senate draft extends protections for non-custodial developers under the market structure bill. The draft would retroactively amend USC 18, blah, 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 to require control as a liability prerequisite for money transmitters. So basically all the things of like the Tornado Cash people are money transmitters and Samurai are money transmitters is basically there's a draft that's basically going to retroactively say it's like, no, they don't have control of the funds. So they are not money transmitters. Like the developers themselves can't be held liable for what people are doing with the software. So that's actually good. Exempts them from Bank Secrecy Act and all of that regulatory nightmare. Do you want to talk about El Salvador?
What happened in El Salvador?
Just the drama about whether or not they're actually getting more Bitcoin or not.
Oh,
or they're moving Bitcoin.
I haven't seen anything about that since we last talked about it. Really, I think
There was another article on like Decrypt that was saying that the IMF has insisted that El Salvador has not increased their Bitcoin stash. That they're saying that like, nope, that hasn't happened.
I think the IMF is lying.
You think the IMF is lying?
Yep.
What do you think? IMF or El Salvador or Bukele? Jeff.
I mean, I don't
have
know.
no evidence either way.
Like,
So, but
yeah, and I don't know if I really care. I would like to. I would like to think that yeah, Bukele is just like, yeah, I'm still doing it. He's just like thumbing his nose at him or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, like he's not like he's clearly like the sort of strongman dictator of El Salvador. That's probably in some ways good news for the stability of El Salvador. It's also not great news because there's no like that's the benevolent leader just doesn't really hold up long term. So I don't I don't know, like just it's all middle of the road, like whatever. Like I think it's probably like if you want to invest and do something in El Salvador, things are probably better there than they have been at any other time. I can't see, like the future looks brighter now than it has at any other time for El Salvador. And part of that is because Bukele can be reelected or whatever. But outside of that, like, I don't really know what you're still gambling on a third world country essentially. And I don't fucking know, man. Where are they really buying Bitcoin or not? Like, I don't know. I mean, like they clearly are using Bitcoin to improve the country.
I hear secondhand that they definitely are, and the IMF is the one that's lying. I trust my sources, but I don't have a primary source. So,
gotcha.
Basically, the people I know are telling me, yeah, they're still buying it. They're doing silly ways around doing it, and no one wants to get into detail, but yeah, they're still buying Bitcoin. And,
well,
the other contention is just your intelligence. Like, you have to be. I don't have an opinion here, but this was what someone said to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's so simple and obviously true. Theory was, are you in power in a Latin American country and you haven't been assassinated? Okay, well then you're an intelligence asset. Like, that's just a rule. Like, there's no way they just keep taking shots and missing. It doesn't work like that. So it feels more like they're trying to get their arms around it rather than, there's everyone will be deputized to some extent. Like, you can't be the president of a country like El Salvador and not have these wolves at the door.
Well, I mean, that's like what's his name? And Javier Milei is like, he went and kissed the wall or whatever. So
yeah,
there's definitely.
Bukele's dad's Palestinian, I think, which I don't know. That doesn't really mean anything, but I don't know. Yeah. I was kind of surprised with that. Milei converting to Judaism was definitely a moment that got me. Wait a minute, what happened here?
Yeah, I just don't know what to do with it. Like, it's weird. It's like the world is strangely unraveling at the same time that, like Candace, her recent episode, she found that Charlie Kirk was apparently building some sort of, she called it Doge, but some sort of like audit thing because he was concerned about the money that was flowing in and out of TPUSA. And like the organization had gotten too big. And so now there's like a legit motivation to like possibly kill him if the donors that are using TPUSA to like launder money. And not only is he turning on Israel, but he's also like exposing, like has knowledge of financial crimes that are being done through his organization. That's a legit reason to like, to off him.
Man, the thing that there's so many, like I can understand that there's like things around an assassination that could be easily misinterpreted. because like it's
There's
chaos.
just so many straight up lies. So many straight up lies, and like,
But there are things that make no sense.
yeah,
Like no sense on their own. Like the dude who just immediately stood up, like waving his hat and like, I did it, and he had a pistol. And like just like completely like taking all the like immediately like being a patsy for
And he had
the
child porn on
situation
his
that
phone.
happened.
He had child porn on his phone, and he was at the Boston bombings, and he was the first guy after 9/11 to say that Al Qaeda was responsible, right? He's just obviously a Mossad asset. Like this is
And then there was a guy, they got video of like a guy who was like right in the front of just like some dude who totally looked like a plain like if you told me like you wanted a plain shirt guy in FBI, it's like, oh well, that's probably that one right there. Like it just looks like that.
there's no way. There's no
like
way
right
it
at the
wasn't.
front.
Yeah.
Immediately after Kirk is shot, he jumps up on the thing, does his little like like he's like sliding across the top of like the hood of a car in a movie over the desk, grabs something, and then just snakes back out around the back. Like what? What? How? Whose natural reaction is to jump up like over someone who has just been shot in the throat, grab something from the table, and then run around behind, just like vanish? Like what? Like I don't care. Like there's a million different reasons to suspect that. Like of course, every time Charlie Kirk went anywhere, he got met with people who basically acted like they wanted to kill him, who sat in front of the microphone and said, "You're a stupid piece of shit. You're awful. You're racist, blah, blah, blah." Like there's a million different reasons to believe that that's enough motivation and that there's plenty of people who wanted to kill him purely for ideological reasons. And if you didn't believe that yet, well, just go to Blue Sky just after he died. There's another million people who are just going ahead announcing that, yeah, I would have been totally fine with killing him. But that still doesn't explain like a bunch of weird ass shit that happened. Like I can understand somebody being flabbergasted, or like, it's like some of the stupid crap have been like the dude's like making a hand signal or whatever, and then he gets shot. It's like, dude, if you scratch your elbow, you look like a retard, like it just, and so like all of that stuff I don't get, but there are a handful of things. There are like 1, 2, 3 little things like that around like what one person is doing or how this thing laid out that nobody, there is no world in which someone who is just there and had no idea what was happening, that would be the reaction. I cannot pretzel that shit in my head to make it make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it was, all that happened is, like the timeline of it is, I'm a Christian, I'm a milk chocolate right-wing conservative, Israel is great, greatest friend, Israel is great. Wait a minute, dead. That was all that happened in his timeline. Like a month ago, he started saying like, he said something to Ben Shapiro, he asked a couple of questions, like, should we trust the Israeli government and everything? And Ben Shapiro's like, excuse me? Like, and then, he's,
how dare you?
I don't even want to talk about it because it should be obvious to anyone not paying attention, and all you do is make it so that you're the next one that ends up dead. So everyone at this point should know.
The mechanic gets turned off his screen. It's like, I don't know if this is. Let me cut off my camera just in case. Let me cut off my camera while I criticize the Israeli government.
There needs to be no room for doubt. They need to say like, if you are on our payroll and you say, "Hey, I'm not actually all right with this," that's not an option for you because you'll end up dead. So they had to send a very, very loud signal, and it's got to be deliberately like, genitalia in your face. What are you going to do about it? Like, we have this much control. We can do something this obvious in broad daylight, and we'll tell you blue is green, and you'll all say, okay, blue is green. Right. It's a dominance play. It's, they're not hiding anything. So the one I can't deal with is people that actually buy the mainstream narrative. I'm like, just how can you possibly believe that? Everything about this was obviously, seriously, like, you think, like, all the stories about the rifle and stuff, you know what it takes to disassemble a rifle and put it in a backpack and, like, run away? Like, you burn your hand touching the thing for the next 4 minutes for a start. Like, there's no way you're, like, also, everything about it's just complete nonsense. And
Yeah, well, and it was supposed to be a really high-powered rifle, and it didn't go through Charlie somehow. Like, there's no everything's everything about the story. It's just nonsense.
It didn't go through him.
Well,
Yeah, there's no exit wound.
Wait, so he was shot from because when it was. I've seen this horrible video way too many times. But
Dad has the 30 if it had been the rifle they said it was, it would have just taken his head off. Like it like blows holes out the side of deer. Like it's a huge, like it's a really powerful rifle.
Yeah, for sure.
And a bunch of people that are like gun experts talked about like the sound is even different. Like the crack you heard is like a 223. It would be a boom if it was a hunting rifle like that.
mm-hmm.
And so like everything points to it's like literally nothing lines up. Nothing does. And you really need to watch Candace's show. And Liberty Lockdown's been really good on it too.
Oh, I should definitely watch. I've never watched Candace's too, but I'm curious what Clint thinks about that.
Clint's been great. Clint has played a couple of the better clips from Candace's stuff. But like there's even like she's reached out, she's found the people that had different footage and actually talked to them directly, and like yeah, the cops never even reached out to us. Like this piece of footage of the killer went viral, and they don't even want it, you know. Like, and so they're not doing the investigation. The FBI is trying to close the case right now, so they're trying to force the case to be over. It's this guy, you know, it's this Tyler kid, and so they don't want to know what's going. They're covering up what's actually happened. So yeah.
I have no idea. I have not investigated long enough to make a claim either way, but there are definitely some fishy ass things around it. I haven't done anything about the gun or whether or not he took it apart or to what degree or anything like that.
There's an eyewitness account that the killer was in full tactical gear, which does not match any of the other stuff.
Sure.
So like it's all nonsense. Like, and it's the same. It's not that much different. Look at they tried to kill Trump, and the kid that tried to kill Trump, it's just they like shot him. He's dead. Like we're gonna talk anything else about this. He has no social media presence. No, he was in a BlackRock commercial, but never mind that. And like it's just gone. Like they just pretend none of that even happened. They didn't want to get to the bottom. Even Trump doesn't want to talk about it. Like and Trump has ever since then been like, well, we're going to have more war. And he's like, I don't know. We're going to have to let Bibi decide that. You know, like, it's just like, and you know, you have Kash Patel looking like, yeah, I mean, we can't do anything about this. It's not, you know, it's exactly
there are no
what
Epstein files.
Those are real. There's no Epstein files. Those are real text messages from that kid. And, you know, this is really what's happening. Sorry. You know, so.
Yeah, man. Well, I got nothing more to say on it. It drives me crazy. People still falling for this stuff. Every psyop, you know, open your eyes. And I can't take watching this stuff anymore, to be honest. It just drives me crazy.
Well, let's hit a couple of good news things. So
the upside is that there are more people that seem to be aware of the fact that this is a psyop than ever before. I mean, like you got millions of people watching Candace and Tucker, and
the number of instant, like, I don't trust yous, like, demographic has grown considerably every single year. Like, which I think is, even if it's not true, even if, like, Tyler is actually the killer and it happened exactly as basically we were immediately told, which again, I am not making, I can't, I've taken no time to actually verify anything here. But even if it is entirely true, I think it's a wonderful thing that the number of people who don't trust it instantly is actually a huge positive, because I think we are lied to far more often than not, especially about anything that is politically meaningful.
It's like people tell the truth sometimes because it's useful, because people believe the truth. And you don't want to lie if you don't have to. But most people will just resort to lying the minute they need to. is what I found out. Like the
Yeah.
drama, this like I have to accept this about people. Like if I run out of this concept of motivated reasoning, someone talked about with Greg Maxwell, right? Because Greg was pushing on Aiden. This is a funny one. So Aiden came out. Aiden wrote Start OS, right? Start 9 operating system, and he came out with a suggestion for filters, saying, what if you just got rid of all the filters from Bitcoin Core and made it a modular thing that people can stick in a JSON config file, like on their computer, and just point their node to that? And then that can be updated on the fly or gotten rid of on the fly. And it doesn't need to become a major drama thing. Every time there's a major release of Bitcoin Core and you want to change a filter, it doesn't need to be a massive issue. It's something else. It's an add-on to a node. And he walked into this thinking Core were going to be like, oh, cool, interesting. Like that would save us a lot of headache. And within 17 minutes of him submitting the BIP, and it's probably going to take you half an hour to read it, let alone write a response, Greg Maxwell wrote the most scathing, horrific, takedown of what he proposed, being like, he called it distributed authoritarianism, which we spent about 2 days laughing about because that's it's a euphemism for self-defense, but trying to make it sound like a bad thing. And he just
what is the external motivation? Like, what is the plan? Like, do they have some plan for something that like the filters disrupt? Like, is there some hidden plan for something that like is motivating all of these? I mean, because Greg Maxwell's the OG of OGs and like has helped me understand a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Why? What is it that they're doing that is making all of these people come down on like the side of centralization? Like, because we don't want decentralized filtering. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, it comes down to control again, right? Like, it's the same with the block size war. It wasn't about making blocks big and giving us SegWit. It was about whose client we're running. That was all it was really about, right? Like, you want regular old Bitcoin. We added the witness discount, made blocks a bit bigger, and added SegWit. But no, you need to run our version, okay? That's what we agreed that you agreed to. It was all about that. Like, if you want bigger blocks, we actually did that. We have 2 megabyte blocks. Like, what do you want? Like, we actually did the change you want, but it's control these people want. So, look, we have 99% dominance of Bitcoin Core. It's dropped down to like 78%. And Samson's releasing a client now. And loads of people are all about it, right? Because Knots is contaminated from all the battle scars of what's been going on here. And, there's plenty of reasons people might have an issue with running Knots. I think all of them, none of them bother me particularly, but I understand it.
Is Samson's client a filter client or?
I don't know.
It just has the option or something?
I don't know any details about it yet. I just know he's making one and there's lots of interest for it. So, and I think it's a good thing. This isn't the politics that it's being made out to be. I'm not going to start attacking it and go on the offensive about that. I'm not a Knots maxi, even though I've been basically one of the 2 most prominent people in this whole battle. I'm not telling everyone to run Knots. I'm just saying I think what the change that's being made to Core is a bad idea. It's a small but very real chance that what happened to BSV happens to Knots. And I don't know if we've done a roundtable since I had that whole revelation where I'm like, wait a minute, this whole issue of contiguous versus non-contiguous, because currencies like Ethereum don't allow arbitrary data storage, period. They just don't. Bitcoin kind of has allowed it in certain weird ways by virtue of how it works. And that's been slowly getting worse and worse and worse. And now it's just like, boom, rip it out. 100 kilobyte files are now standard, fully endorsed, get relayed by the network in there. And I'm like, that has ramifications. There's social ramifications there, legal risk. I never go on about the legal one, and that's always the one that gets sort of thrown back at me. I don't really care. For me, it's more about just the social contagion of it. Just like Bitcoin's now just a filthy database where people store horrible images and stuff, and it gets connotated with that. I see that being a really hard thing to defend. So, and then I found out about the BSV example after that, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, because this is Craig Wright taking a bullet for us for once. Like, he had BSV under unilateral control, and they took op return from 80 bytes to 100,000 bytes back in 2019, which is exactly what we're about to do. And they had this CSAM incident immediately afterwards, and there was a resulting bunch of chaos. CSAM meaning child sexual
Right.
assault material, and this happened right away. And I'm like, right. And I keep getting in this discussion and back and forth with people who are genuine but don't agree with me. So that's mainly Giacomo Zucco and Jimmy Song. So they're both saying this is nonsense. Like 100 kilobyte op returns aren't going to result in that. And I'm like, I would usually agree with you that it was pretty unlikely if we didn't have the BSV case study. And I'm trying to figure out what's the difference. Are people just being nice to Bitcoin? Is any intelligence agency that wants to undermine us that way? Is there just not the political will within those entities to do that kind of attack? I don't get it. And then you always have this technical argument, which is it's already possible to store large amounts of data with inscriptions anyway. Who cares if it's broken up into chunks and it looks hacky instead of op return, which looks supported? None of that's that big of a difference to really feel like the op return change is all that significant. And I'm like, I buy that, but it sounds like a backward rationalization, because I feel like in a month or two from now, if Core 30 was to just happen and people were to run it and 100 kilobyte op returns became a normal thing, I think the disaster scenario I've painted out here is actually pretty realistic now that we have that BSV case study. And then I'm going to be like, right, well, now do you want to tell me that there's nothing really significant that's been changed since the inscriptions Taproot thing? Because it seems to me that it's the same as saying Taproot didn't really change anything outside of what SegWit already enabled. And I'm like, but that doesn't seem true, because a bunch of spam started happening post Taproot that was technically possible with SegWit, but it didn't happen with SegWit. So there's something there where I'm just like, people are not taking this seriously. And the trouble is, every time I talk about it, people shoot the messenger. So I've had Peter Todd and Adam Back both be like, you're inviting this, you're making it happen. And they're basically setting up the stage where if we get attacked with a massive amount of CSAM in the Bitcoin blockchain, they've already
It's your fault.
They've actually said this
stupid.
openly. It's stupid, but people are stupid and people fall for stuff like that. So it really concerns me.
That's immediately an admission that the social signal is like a huge deal here, when they're also saying, on the other hand, that the social signal doesn't matter and this is purely a technical argument and everybody can stick it in anyway already. There's so many, like, one argument is not the same as the other.
What's theoretically possible and what's practically doable are just different things. And you're making something that is theoretically possible practically doable for a lot more people. You're lowering the barrier to entry
significantly.
That's it. You're going to get more of that then.
And you want I have a whole tinfoil hat theory on this whole thing. Like, if they'd have just gone from like pre-Taproot, pre-SegWit, very minimal amounts of data included in the chain, to let's make op return 1,000 times bigger, I don't think Bitcoiners would have gone for that. And if it had happened and it was exploited by these people that can't get cloud storage anywhere else because of the nature of what the files are, then I think Bitcoiners would have reacted to it and managed to root around it. But because it's been backdoored in via Taproot, having happened where data storage in Bitcoin accidentally happened and we kind of didn't really react to it the right way, we have this halfway house where, does Bitcoin support arbitrary file storage or not? Yes and no, because Taproot wasn't for that purpose. Taproot was for a bunch of other purposes. It's not for the storage of data, but people found out a way to disguise data as the witness for a transaction. And we didn't really react in a way where we rejected it, and some documentation got rewritten to reflect the new behavior, and it wasn't categorized as a bug, it was categorized as intended behavior. So now when the op return change happens, everyone gets to say, well, it's already possible in Bitcoin. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not possible as a result of anything we actively chose. It was possible as a result of a mistake and a lack of foresight. So You know what I mean? It's the psychology of how we've gotten to where
Nobody
we are.
said when we implemented Taproot, it's like, okay, well, this is going to be great because we can just arbitrarily stick a whole bunch of crap in because of the witness data. Like nobody was trying to make, like, that wasn't something that we actively said,
dude.
this is what Bitcoin is for.
We were trying to get transaction mixing and fucking privacy things, which none of that shit's even happened. Like we've
Yeah.
not gotten any of that from
Or
Taproot.
cross input signature aggregation.
Yeah, Taproot has failed to do any of the things we wanted to get from it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, it turns out that on paper, it does all these fantastic things for multisig, but no one wants to deal with the UX. Or it's like, oh, you have to go round and round and around, and it's just, no.
What is Nunchuck? Is what Nunchuck's doing now Taproot stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it fully got there or if it's still that halfway thing that was pretty good.
Miniscript.
Miniscript?
Which is, Miniscript is super dope. I love Miniscript.
But is Miniscript enabled by Taproot, or was the could we get rid of Taproot and just still have Miniscript?
I don't think you need Taproot for Miniscript, if I'm not mistaken. But obviously your signatures or your witness and stuff is going to be smaller if you do.
So maybe we should just put in a BIP to remove Taproot.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
It just
Yeah. So I actually sat down with Core Dev a couple days ago, and I wanted, there were definitely some points that I disagreed with him, but he listens to the show, and I've been really wanting to sit down and talk to a bunch of different people on different sides of this, and I think, like, everything he said to me, I think was completely genuine. And he actually said that he joined and started contributing specifically because of the spam issue. And he and multiple other people, a lot of what's going on is actually about making the blockchain, like IBD and stuff, a lot faster. And he actually does benchmarks regularly on like IBD on like normal, like Raspberry Pi shit. And this actually confused me in some sense, but there were a lot of positive improvements in 30 that have nothing to do, that are completely irrelevant to filters. And one of them is like a significant improvement in efficiency. And one of them is, I think this is actually one that had the UTXO set improvement, where like right now it like scales quadratically. So that like something is actually, the processing for something is actually significantly better with this version. But one of the things that kind of got me about that is that, like, so if there's so many like really like important things, and one of them is actually like kind of a bug fix that matters. It's publicly known,
dragging
but
this filter shit into it.
why would you stick those together, especially when it's so politically like? And I think he totally kind of like hand waved away the fact that like node numbers have grown a lot, and saying that like if you do like a ASMAT thing, like a bunch of them are like hosted on servers or Amazon or whatnot. But like all the data, and like I don't really care one way or the other. But I think if you like take an honest look at it, like I've seen people like try to do that from both sides, and there very very well may be a bunch of like fake nodes spun up to like look like knots. But it's also important to remember that like anybody can do that. Like you can do that yourself just to make a tweet about it, to be like knots is stupid, you know? Like nobody, you have no idea who's actually doing it. But without a doubt, if you look at the data, and I specifically went back and like saved a bunch of the stuff that I saved and like looked at it, there's a huge portion of them that just look like honest nodes. Like maybe it's somewhere in actually like the 13 or 14%. Maybe there is like a section that you can actually say is somebody like thinking like, oh, look at my node count so big. My node count's bigger than yours. But it doesn't seem at all that you can just say that that's all it is. And the thing is that if this is so much better, and especially if there's like a bug fix in this,
why isn't V30 adoption?
well, then that's a problem. That's like why wouldn't you prioritize over like what is clearly a political change? Why would we not prioritize getting the bug fix and these computational improvements, which is good for everybody and helps the very problem that people on the not side are complaining about is that IBD's faster. Like, it's not getting harder to run the blockchain. It's getting easier to run the blockchain. That's fantastic news. That's like super awesome. I love that. And so I don't know. But the analogy that he used, like, I totally respect his argument for it. Because he's specifically coming in from the standpoint of like, how do we make this do as little damage as possible? And one of the things that he said that I like this analogy is like, it's the fact that like, I don't think that that there's nothing meaningful that we can do on a long-term timescale to actually stop this problem. And so it's like you go to a park and like tons of people are littering, and it's like you just sit out trash cans and maybe less people will litter. And he said the op return is just a trash can. It's just placing a trash can there for people to use it. And he also said that the reason, because like we haven't actually increased the filter, like the relay filter, to 100 kilobytes. It's just that 100 kilobytes is the next limit. So there's like this hierarchy of limits. There's a relay filter, there's a transaction size filter, and then there's a block filter or block size limit. And so we've just removed the relay filter, and 100 kilobytes is just as big as a transaction as you can make. So you can stick that much into op return minus your transaction, the rest of your transaction. So he said, and like our thinking about it is that we just want as neutral of an underlying, like, TCP doesn't think about even email. There's nothing in email that says, like, we're going to prioritize spam over not spam. Like, the protocol itself doesn't do that.
Yeah, well, Bitcoin Core is not the protocol itself, though. That's the thing.
But I think they see it as this is the reference client that implies what people are doing with the protocol, or how people are interacting with the protocol. So I get it from their perspective, but I also don't understand how. Okay, like, sure, the email protocol and like the consensus system about like what is email communication doesn't have that.
We still have email spam filters.
But that's done at a higher level, is the point.
If you're currently the most popular client and people running clients want filters, like they want to filter spam, then you're going to make yourself irrelevant, because like it does matter. And then oh my God, the idea. And I didn't really push back because we didn't have enough time, and I wanted to let him get his arguments out, because I wanted to hear his perspective. But he made the censorship argument again, is that like it's a slippery slope to censorship. And I even asked that, so has Bitcoin been censored up to this point for anything like 84 byte things, and does it censor 101 kilobyte transactions? And he said yes. And right. I didn't know how to go down that road of, and again, we didn't have the time. We had a very short span that I wanted him to get his say in. But like that was like immediately like, so like, why does it matter that we're censoring 10 kilobyte transaction? Like, why is this like some like huge moral concern? If it's okay that 101 kilobyte is still being
trying
censored.
to flip a technical problem into a moral concern to support their argument. It's not a.
They're also abusing the term because it's not censorship. Yeah. I'm glad that he said yes, because that shows there's some intellectual integrity there. Bitcoin is the vehicle for censorship. It is the most brutally enforced rules that reject. You will not accept transactions with invalid signatures. You won't accept blocks that are bigger than 1 megabyte of, just standard size, not the V byte thing. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin, it has rules, and they are a result of people voluntarily deciding to enforce a set of rules. And whether that's at the consensus level or mempool level, it all comes down to the individual and what they're prepared to do. Censorship, it can never, authoritarianism, as Greg Maxwell calls it, Bution killed it in his argument. He said authoritarianism necessarily has to come from the authorities. Individuals are not agents of authoritarianism. They can be deputized by it. But if they're saying, this is my computer, this is what I'm prepared to do with it, They are not authoritarian people. The authoritarian is the one that's saying you have to do this even though you don't want to. That's the truth of it. Censorship in this context is that flipping it on its head and saying you must relay stuff you don't want to relay, otherwise you have the goal of censorship. So they're making the ends justify the means. They're saying if we want Bitcoin to be as open and permissionless as possible, people have to do stuff they don't want, so that we end with this more libertarian appearing thing. And I'm saying the ends can't justify the means. You can't force me to do stuff I don't want in order to make the system appear more liberal. It's an abuse of the terminology. The censorship in Bitcoin can only come as a consequence of completely centralized mining, where the authorities crack down on the centralized miners and say you're not allowed to include X, Y, and Z. And then someone is going against their own will because there's the state's boot on their neck. That's censorship. That's authoritarianism. Node runners saying, I don't want a certain type of activity and I'm not going to participate in it. Anyone that tries to characterize that as censorship or authoritarianism is abusing the terms. And I hate that. And I likened it to people that want to call discrimination because they get fired from their job when they were actually terrible at their job. Or women that that made the Me Too movement and actually made frivolous claims of, assault. That kind of thing undermines people that have actually been in those situations. It's an abuse of an emotional reaction, right? So it was calling it censorship from the off was just completely wrong. And everyone that was prepared to be honest about it pushed back on it very hard. And mempool filters are never censorship because it's your computer. Your computer doesn't get opened up to other people dumping random files on it. Otherwise, you're a censoring person. That's just not correct.
One of the things that I brought up with when I was talking to Lawrence is I was like, well, then, the suggestion would be that I'm censoring, I could have a node that I just chose not to relay anything but my friends.
Yep.
I could just have it so that Mechanic, Jeff, Steve, Shinobi, Lop, there's those people that I'm connected to. It's these are the only people that I connect to, and and everything else I just don't listen to or care about. And then I could mine it that way too if I want. It's just totally arbitrary, but I'm not censoring everybody else. I'm just choosing how I want to do. I could have a light client. A light client literally relays nothing, right? Or not a light client, but a non-listening node. All it does is just take stuff in. Does it censor everything? Because not only that, but I feel like it's entirely contradictory. And I will actually say, I will give credit where credit's due, or criticism where criticism due. Is there's an argument that that's a moral, a moral outrage word. It's oh, you're doing censorship, and I can't believe you want to do censored authoritarian government run Bitcoin. It's the mempool relay policy. What are you fucking talking about? I can understand too their perspective is why they think the CSAM argument is the same thing. Is that you could just say illegal content or somebody putting dick butts, but it's the most moral outrage thing to be okay, they're going to put CSAM on the chain. So I can kind of understand why they see that as the exact same on the opposite side, and that it's being pushed a lot by Luke or whatever. And Mechanic, you brought it up quite a bit, but
I was the one that sort of threw that out there. And like I say, no one wanted to talk about it. Everyone thinks it draws massive amount of heat. Everyone's kicking me under the table, saying, what on earth are you doing bringing that up? And I'm like I said, I didn't think it was super likely, but I don't think people are nice. That's the problem. People are nice, decent people that have not really worked in the bowels of society and dealt with that kind of stuff. And I'm look, who uses a permissionless monetary network? It's people that get rejected everywhere else. So Bitcoin was drug dealers and WikiLeaks. Why? Because they can't use anything else. So who's going to use permissionless file storage? People that for some reason can't use their own computers and can't get in the cloud. That's who. And why is anyone in that situation? It's not the same thing as financial exclusion, where good journalists and drug dealers have nowhere else to go, and there's some defense there. And more philosophically, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, and we need a fungible currency, and that means we have to treat all financial activity as equal. That's defensible. It doesn't matter what you're paying for. I will defend it. Whereas arbitrary file storage is just not the same thing. It's a philosophical sleight of hand to say, actually, that's what Bitcoin is. It's just treating all ones and zeros as neutral. And I'm like, that's not going to fly. Because if you get caught with a hard drive with certain kinds of stuff on it, you will be judged according to that. Whether it was an accident or not, people are going to want to know how plausible is your deniability. And this has nothing to do with the government. A lot of the rules and regulations around this stuff reflect the kinds of morals people naturally have anyway, right? You go to jail for murdering someone. That I'm still going to tell you not to murder people, even though the government made it illegal, and that doesn't make me an agent of the state. That's just right and wrong, and it's independent of the law. So in this case, I'm like, if I have a random file server in my house where random people can upload files to it anonymously, and I don't put any safeguards on it at all beyond what's consensus valid in Bitcoin, that is negligent, reckless. When I have the tools available to say, what you put on here needs to actually be a Bitcoin transaction. And if you're disguising it as a Bitcoin transaction with something else, I'm going to catch that and not have it, because it's going to be my issue. If it's in my mempool, and I laid out this attack where, cloud's infrastructure would get taken offline if certain stuff starts flying around the P2P layer, not the blockchain. Once it's in the chain, arguably it's not your responsibility anymore, because a miner put it in at that point. And miners already take that responsibility seriously. And this is where I'm like, I ended up blocking Adam because he kept misunderstanding me. He kept saying, you're on the slippery slope to censorship. And I'm saying, in a practical sense, it's the opposite. If you do some sort of content moderation in a dumb way against arbitrary file storage in general at the mempool layer, then you just prevent this kind of stuff from happening in the first place, crudely.
If you leave it up to miners to do it,
then they start content moderating in a more subtle way. That's the problem. And we have the evidence. That's what kills me about this. Slipstream exists. People are submitting arbitrary data out, and usually it's inscriptions bigger than 400 kilobytes, which are not consensus valid. Are not standard policy. Mm-hmm. And Slipstream look at everything because they don't want to be on the hook for putting something in the chain that was submitted to them by some random anonymous person via their own service, not the P2P network. They content moderate. And all I have been saying is, if you make the mempool layer retarded, you end up pushing all the sophistication and the analysis out to the mining layer. And there's only like 3 companies in the world that do that. And they're going to be pushed into being moderators of the content.
If they're having to be content moderators for like images, well, then that actually is a slippery slope, because they're going to be regulated for moderation as to who's making the transaction. And especially if we're Patriot acting every damn thing about what people do on the chain, now it's like you're exposing the level of control that could be implemented. And I think the idea that's not a fair and reasonable concern.
If miners have to be concerned about what kind of transactions,
that we know which path matters and like what the outcome of either is just bullshit. And it's not a technical argument either. It's not like if you're a good enough dev, you know what the future is going to be. Yeah. And Taproot couldn't be the more perfect example. It's like, we didn't fucking know, because it matters in the social layer. It matters in the economics. It matters in the political incentives. All of these things wrap up into this. Nobody knows. You don't know that if you remove the relay filter, that all's going to be fine, nothing's going to happen, and that it's not going to lead to censorship or content moderation at the miner level, because we have a very serious miner centralization problem. Mm-hmm. If we do actually leave them in, we don't know that it's going to be able to stop everything. We don't know if it's going to lead to anything. Nobody actually fucking knows the outcome of any of this shit, and everybody's arrogantly saying it's definitely this way or this way, and everybody's fucking talking past each other. Yeah. And it's bullshit, and it's like stupid, like unbelievably immature too. And everybody thinks that they're the only ones being fucking mature.
100%.
This is a reasonable fucking conversation to have. It's a reasonable conversation, and you don't know what the outcome's going to be. There are unintended consequences everywhere, and we are making a change that does matter. It's not going to kill Bitcoin. I genuinely do not think it is. It's not as existential as a lot of people say it is, but it does matter. And there's a very reasonable conversation to have about it.
Appreciate it.
If the miners have to care about what they're mining at all and decide one way or the other, because what they're saying is this is just another kind of Bitcoin transaction, right? Like if you can put anything in there, this is just a Bitcoin transaction. You're paying to get it on the chain. But if the miners now have to be worried about what kind of transaction is being put in there, that's your censorship. That's like where you end up with this. Miners can be prosecuted for mining a block that has something bad in it. Like,
and that's the thing, is they will be. Like it's not even like a if, like it seems in every sense that that's coming. And if they're trying to make mixing illegal, then why wouldn't they go after miners for including mixing?
Yeah, for including a mixed transaction.
Like, this is an illegal transaction. What you doing, buddy?
Yeah, and once at that point we have precedent. Like because the problem is, like, when they tried to do it before, we went ballistic at them. Like OFAC compliance was saying you can't include certain transactions on government blacklists, and we went nuts at them over that, and they stopped. They didn't even start doing it. They indicated that they were going to do it, and we went ballistic. No one's going to have that kind of reaction. They already don't. Slipstream exists. People can submit copywritten content, nothing even like outlandishly controversial, right? Submit, like the Disney logo or something like, or Nintendo or something that's classically going to create problems for you. They just won't put it in the chain. That's the end of it. And no one has kicked off about that the same way they did with OFAC compliance, because no one in Bitcoin actually cares about one MP4 equals one MP4, or one JPEG equals one JPEG. No one actually in their heart believes that all data is equal. It's a nonsense backwards rationalization. One BTC equals one BTC. I don't care where it comes from, who you are, anything like that. It's fungible. Data does not enjoy that kind of abstract, what do you call it? Provisioning.
Privilege. Yeah.
Like, you end up in a world where really one $10 bill is different in value to another $10 bill. Money doesn't work if you end up in that world. That's a collector's item. That's barter. We know that you can't have money like that. So data, trying to say, hey, we're just going to have to treat all data as ones and zeros. I'm like, no one will fight for that. When Mara come out and say, there's a bunch of retarded 100 kilobyte op returns that we have no interest in uploading into the chain, no one is going to go after them for that, because we're all like, yeah, fair enough. And once you set that precedent that miners only mine a subset of what's in mempools, you're done. It's over at that point, because they're just going to start doing that exact same thing with blacklisted UTXOs. And no one's going to go mental over it.
This is why I've been saying since the beginning of this, is that the solution isn't even like we feel like we're trying to get like the mempool consistent with what the miners are going to put into blocks. And yet we've got this huge problem, is that there's only like 6 miners that matter. And it's like if this is a centralization problem and we're talking about Slipstream, why is the focus on trying to make the network work around them rather than trying to fix them? And Stratum V2 is still like, don't we actually want to fix this? Like, if we're this fucking concerned about relay filters, I think MVK actually said that, is if people actually cared this much about mining centralization, we would have already solved the problem. But like, somehow the core of why this is a huge problem is just kind of like, yeah, we'll get the Stratum V2 and we'll stick that we'll have some improvements for there. And like, there's barely like a handful of people who are actually caring about it or working on it. And it's like Datum is the only thing that's actually moving the needle. Like, and still in like a very small way and in like a tiny corner, and it's being attacked because it's like related to mempool filters. It's like, it's got nothing to do with mempool filters. It's like, it's not built well enough. It's like, well, it's fucking built. It's doing something. Like, don't we give a shit about this issue? Don't we fucking care about Bitcoin's future? Like, do we care about the fact that there's a huge centralization problem that's been going on for a really fucking long time? And you give this much shit about relay filters? But that's not even, like, doesn't even fucking come up. Like, God damn it. Like, where's the priority for any of this shit? Like, you can't care about something that's downstream and then just kind of like hand wavy about like, whatever about the fucking source, like where the water's coming from, you know?
Agreed.
If they're talking about removing the wallet from, future versions of Core or whatever, is it possible to just build some sort of like filter plugin on top of V30 or V whatever the next version is going to be or whatever?
Yeah, I mean that's what Aiden did, right? And maybe that's what.
Okay, but that's what they're mad about, though. They're mad about that too, right?
Yeah, they were not happy.
Do you guys like the concept Aiden suggested, or did you review it at all?
Oh yeah, it sounds like no. I know nothing. I know nothing about it, but I had basically a very similar thought. And as soon as you like talked about the idea, it's like that kind of sounds. I mean, that sounds like perfectly reasonable
perfect
to me.
It would have
and
taken all the allegedly core want nothing to do with filters.
take the liability away from
Right.
them. It has nothing to do with them.
I didn't realize that we were calling a bluff. I thought Aiden walked into that like naively, like they should love this, like. And he got called an authoritarian, and Greg was saying this is just like Christians that want to stone us to death for fornicating. We're like, what are you what on earth are you talking about? Like,
And it would even like solve their supposed problem of it being censorship. It's like, well, if you actually think that, then there's no way that this is actually going to be exactly the same. And if there's actually a value for having all of the information in your mempool that's going to be most likely mined in the next block, well, then that's exactly what the relay filters will end up being if you just give people the option for it. Like it will actually settle on the thing that actually economically makes sense. That will be what the filters are if you just let people choose filters. And most people will just choose a default that works. And if their fees don't work and they're like, why am I not knowing why is everything slow? Why did I get an orphan block? Well, they'll change it. But let them change it. If we're actually arguing that the free market's going to decide how best to use this thing, well, why don't you let nodes be nodes? And decide for themselves like what they actually want to do. It would naturally align with what is most likely to get mined. It just seems like perfectly obvious if we're allowing the free market to align things and make it so that it is a free market because that's going to be the best. Well, then why wouldn't it align?
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is that what is when a whole bunch of people want something and their reasoning for it doesn't make any fucking sense, and they're smart people, then there's some sort of covert reason for wanting this thing. What is the possibility that like Liquid has built some sort of product that needs like this big, like I understand that everything's not a conspiracy, but when you come up with a solution that really solves the problem that like on multiple levels that they want, and then they're just mad about that too, there's just too many things that just, like he said, it sounds like you're calling a bluff. Like it just, I'm waiting to find that Liquid or there's some sort of product they have that is going to use this thing once the filter is gone, and they needed this to happen.
Citria specifically is the only one that's like been brought up, and Lawrence specifically mentioned that, and he was like, I don't even know, like nobody even knew, or like when this conversation was happening, like nobody gave a shit about Citria or knew anything about it. Like maybe there was like a couple people, or like Peter Todd or Lop or whatever had their thing where they were like, oh yeah, this would be great because Citria would be able to use this, but it was it was never actually part of the discussion for us. And I take him at his word for that. He seemed completely honest with everything else that he was breaking down. But I would say that, again, I think there's a reasonable argument on the other side as to why it makes sense to basically just let it go, is because like nobody knows how Bitcoin is going to be used. So the argument on the other side is that like we see things like people building things like BitVM and Citria, and we see proposals for a quantum resistant signature, which it's actually doable. It's actually possible that this could be stuck into the op return place, or in the op return space for the transaction, and actually use like without like a serious soft fork or whatever, in a more reasonable way. We can actually use things, a space that's already available to us, to potentially solve a problem that we just don't know. Like we cannot foresee, and just like kind of the idea of like, we don't know which path is best. Nobody knows, and everybody who pretends to know is wrong. It's the only thing that I do know, is that you don't know. And so in the context of like opening that up, is that there could be a ton of extremely valuable uses for Bitcoin, or potentially like important protections for Bitcoin that could make use of just the fact that we have a transaction size limit of 100 kilobytes.
But you can't open up possibilities without increasing tag service.
No, you can't.
I mean, I think there's a reasonable argument in both ways, but I think that's a completely fair stance to take. And it's just weighing different things as the priority concerns of like, we don't know what Bitcoin is yet. We really just don't. We are completely unknown about the future, and we're kind of making putting a stake in the ground that like, no, this is definitely how it's going to be used, and this is definitely what we're going to stop, and this sort of thing. So I get that perspective, and I think it's worth actually making that steel man for the other side, because it actually has a lot of the same basic framing. Is that like we don't really know where this is going. We don't know who's going to build the thing that helps Bitcoin the most in being money.
But filters can be changed.
Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, I know. Yeah, 100%. But the idea is be neutral and make the blockchain work as best as we possibly can in that neutral setting. Make UTXOs more efficient, even if it gets bloated. Give them a garbage can so that it doesn't get as bloated for whatever bullshit they're using it for, so that people can basically throw away that information. Which I don't know. There's not a way for, like, I know the op-return data can be pruned, but it still needs to be saved because hashes don't work after the op-return if you don't have a full, like an archival node, like a full node. And mechanic, maybe either one of y'all know, I don't know, but there's no way to not download that information from some full node somewhere to verify it, and then you can throw it away. Is that what I understand? Or is there a way to actually verify that transaction and not have everything after the op return and it doesn't matter? Do you know?
I don't know. I think you're going to have to store it and look at the op return at some point when verifying the op return transaction.
That was my thinking, is that like the transaction hash includes, or the I guess it would be the witness. I know the hash is, in the whole thing, you have to have that data.
Like the whole pruning of op returns is kind of like, I don't know if that's what you're getting at exactly, but like,
yes.
Pruning op returns, like the word pruning is used in two contexts, and like Greg like yelled at me about this, but I think he intentionally misunderstood me, to be honest. Your op returns are pruned from the UTXO set because they are a UTXO, which is an unspendable UTXO, so it immediately doesn't be in the UTXO set. But it's not, unless you prune your node, you still keep the data. To get rid of that data, you have to run a prune node, and then it gets pruned along with all other archival data. So prune is doing I never heard it used in the context of op returns get pruned. They get pruned from the UTXO set. That's nothing to do with running a pruned node. And running a pruned node will discard op returns along with everything else, but you still have to download and verify it to run a full node, whether that node is pruned or not. To sync up to the tip and to be trustless, it has to verify everything in op returns.
Well, I think we successfully didn't get anywhere. And the spam,
all the world's
spam
problems.
drama, the spam
The
drama
tiger blood is
still
running
spam
high.
drama, and relay filters are still censorship. It's funny. I'm gonna read a piece by Shinobi talking about how ineffective spam filters are, which he's like technically right on like every count. But then like my immediate reaction or thinking about this is like, well, then how do you call it censorship?
It's
like,
not censorship.
If you're like, that's like the thing. It's like, I totally get, you're 1,000% right. And it's actually a really interesting article about like how he's right on that issue. But then to turn around and call it censorship is a little bit, and not to be like, oh, everything's, you're the dumb people in COVID, 2020, because like that's such a ridiculous trope. It's like everybody's a Nazi when they're wrong, when they disagree with me.
You're a COVID
but
guy,
but it does feel a little bit like the vaccine's 100% safe and effective, but if you don't take it, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
like it's like if it's so easy to get around that it's not going to do anything, why do you keep fucking calling it censorship? But anyway, whatever.
Well, that was my contention. That was another thing I went, like, you're judging a filter's ability to censor, saying it can't, and then say that's why it's useless and why we should get rid of them. I was saying it's the wrong tool for that job. It's not capable of censoring anything. Judge it by what it's supposed to do, which is rate limiting. There's always going to be op returns that are bigger than 80 bytes. There's just basically none in comparison to how many are less than 80 bytes.
It's a soft barrier.
It's like saying the bridge height marker is censorship to who can travel under this bridge. It's like, motherfucker, no, you can travel. You just can't carry a truck that's taller than this height. Like, we're just, like, I'm not gonna, like, you can't pass here. You got to go a different way. Like, I don't know.
I thought of another analogy actually, and had forgotten to bring it up. And I think this is like fair because it kind of hits the whole censorship and like the bigger picture, and also what like the people who think that this shouldn't be changed and that there's reason for nodes to be able to make their own decisions about this is I think it paints their perspective properly, and tell me if I'm wrong, but like the idea that, like, let's say, like, you have a free country and porn is totally allowed, right? Like, there's no like the idea that you would outlaw someone being able to show their naked selves to somebody else is ridiculous, right? Like, that couldn't possibly be aligned with liberty to make that law at the state level. But if you have like a neighborhood or a city where there's a very strong culture and everybody says, in my house, you're not allowed to just like come into my living room and like start getting the D by somebody, like you're just not going to do it in my house, but like it's not illegal or anything. You just can't do it in my house. But then if somebody has their own house, like somebody makes their own house and they live in their house and they just want to do that, they just want to have orgies all the time. Well, of course they can do that in their house, but you're just not going to do it on mine. It's like all it does is shift the responsibility. Is it if there are hundreds of thousands of people who honestly want to use Bitcoin to shove dick butts into transactions or whatever, they just gonna have to run their own nodes. Like, they just can't offload it on me. And if they run their own nodes and they actually care enough to maintain the network for doing what they want to do with it, they mine themselves, they make sure that they pay the fees and they run their own nodes, so be it. I'll accept the transactions in the mempool. I'm still not going to broadcast it to anybody else, but I will accept it totally fine and admit that, the next block might come in with dick butts in it or whatever. But that's not censorship. It's just meaning that you can't use mine for free. You can't come into my house and use it without my say so. If I'm out of consensus, sure. I'm not gonna play a consensus game. That's not like, I'm not gonna kick you out of society or something, or force myself out of society because I don't prefer this not to happen. But if you have your own house and you want to do this, I don't give a shit. That is your choice. But you're gonna run your own infrastructure and your own transaction relay to do that. So, and like that would actually be a benefit if literally 100,000 new nodes came on the network just because a bunch of JPEGers wanted to actually verify and have a mempool where they could pass around their JPEGs and verify their own transactions and use Bitcoin as money. I would call that a huge net positive because they're not offloading it onto somebody else. And I'd probably be okay with the spam. I'd be like, all right, well, whatever. As long as they actually care about Bitcoin being maintained as like a full, broad, decentralized network. And that's the way the culture of the maintainers, the people who run nodes and do wallets and the developers and the services, all of it, that the entire ecosystem went, then so be it. There's no optimal way that, like, Bitcoin was never going to always just be everything that the cypherpunks wanted, and there was never going to be a branch or something that we were unhappy about. Bitcoin was not going to be perfect. It's going to be something where a lot of crazy, ridiculous humans exist and use it. But but you don't get to tell me what to do in my house. Like the whole idea is that like a node runner sees it as like, that's theirs. And if they want to filter something, or if they want to put in a soft barrier for something that they do not think Bitcoin ought to be used for. I think that's their choice. Like in the same way that like I can decide which I don't have to relay anything. But anyway.
I appreciate it, man. It's someone else's computer, not your own. You don't get to dictate what people do with it. That's the end of it.
Let's hit a couple. I gotta go. I'm gonna have to go. I just want to hit a couple of good news items. So first, the illiquid Bitcoin supply, quote unquote, signals a shift toward scarcity. So long-term holders, like there's a bunch of like news and stuff about like OGs are being reactivated and selling all their Bitcoins, and like we're about to go into a bear market. Fidelity Research just dropped a report or whatever, which I might actually read on the show. It's got a lot of charts, but it might be worth reading. That the illiquid supply, like the amount that has not been transacted in more than 7 years, has done nothing but grow. It keeps growing into all of this. So we are still in full accumulation and holder zone, despite hodl zone, despite all that. So that's, I think that's a pretty good indication that the bull market is just, or our market is still just strong, like really, really strong. Another good news item is, and this is from I think it's one of the most recent financial freedom reports. But BitChat surges in Nepal. So Nepal blocked like 26 of the major social media platforms because of protests and like people getting angry about censorship. BitChat got like 50,000 downloads in like a day or two because of all the protests, which I thought was pretty cool. And then another one from the Freedom Report that Nigeria's e-Naira CBDC just got taken offline because so many people use Bitcoin and so many people were having accessibility problems. They've had 4 years of their trying to push their CBDC, and it failed. They've walked it back and they said, all right, we fucking give up. And I thought that was pretty dope. That's good ass news.
Great news.
That is great news.
Yeah.
Hopefully the UK will have just as much trouble with their digital ID rollout as. I mean, that's the one thing is, what are you going to go arrest a bunch of old people? Like, are they just going to they're just going to go arrest grandmas that don't, don't.
No, they're not letting them have
anything?
jobs.
Well, turn all the old people into completely dependent class. I guess that means they vote the way you want if they're completely dependent. But
It's the UK is it's done for a million reasons. The voter ID thing annoys me because it's not voter ID, just digital ID. It annoys me because it's a symbolic thing. But the UK's you've been arrested for posting the wrong meme for years now. It's been just a complete psychopath. All of the infrastructure
the UK has
is
more
there
people
now.
in prison. Has more people in prison for shit that they posted on Facebook or Twitter than Russia. That's wild. That is wild. That is not a stat that you should be proud of.
Dude, it's a horrible thing that people let happen. It doesn't have that kind of resistance that Americans will put up. Like, America has its own problems, but people just are less tolerant of erosion of their civil liberties in America. The UK is just bent over. The Canadians bent over. Australians bent over. The whole non-American, English-speaking part of the world has completely collapsed, in my opinion. But like at the same time, Germany's horrible, and that's had mandatory ID for ages anyway. Same with Italy.
Yeah.
I was walking around in Milan last Plan B. Which, are you going to that, by the way, next month? Plan B?
No.
Fair enough.
I might go to the Plan B in El Salvador at the end of January.
Right. Well, I walked around in Milan last
with
year, and the cops came up to me and were like, "ID," and I was like, "I don't have my ID, you absolute psychopath." And they're like, Vince had to look, he's a tourist. He didn't understand that we have to carry ID here, and they eventually left me alone. I'm like, "Are you serious? I need a piece of paper to be outside." And he's like, "Yeah, no, that's a thing in Italy. Same in Germany. You have to
You're
carry
breathing the government's air."
Yeah, just what are you talking about? I want that piece of paper that says I can do what I want. Hold it up,
I got a license for that.
You know that meme, the European mind cannot comprehend this, and it's like someone, playing electric guitar on a surfboard with just like with an eagle above their head. It's like, this is much more real than you'd think. Like, I was like, you understand what just happened, right? It's psychotic. Like, why do I need to have a piece of paper, like a government issued piece of paper, to be somewhere outside? I have to have permission to just literally be here. like I know loitering is like
wild.
a thing, like, but I'm just walking around and the police are like, I want your ID. Just not like I did something either. It wasn't like I was in a fight or some sort of a situation. They were just like, we are checking IDs. Like, what's the goal here? Like, what is your goal with that?
To meet our quota of people we have to arrest.
Well, no, but it's just like, we are checking IDs. Why? Because someone might not have an ID, and then we'll catch them without an ID. I'm like, that's a completely arbitrary, like,
yeah.
It's a bit of a circular argument, sir.
Where's your banana? I don't have a banana. Right. Well, then you're going to jail for not having a banana. It's a good thing we checked whether you had your banana or not. What's okay?
I think we missed the underlying purpose of this situation.
Yeah, it's totally circular as well. If we don't check whether you have your banana, then we won't know whether you had your banana, and you could have been walking around without a banana. So it's a good thing we check for these. Like, they never get to.
This is the whole problem. The whole problem with the right's reaction to, like,
everything.
The left has been engaged in this, like, truly, like, it's a real problem. Like, this Cloward Piven strategy to, like, overwhelm basic services in certain areas, and like it's advantageous for them to, like, look, the hospitals are overflowing, and to be able to redraw, like, voter district, gerrymander, and to, like, change congressional representation, and all of this with just by bringing in as many people as they can bring in. But then the right-wing response is like, well, we need to create this militarized police force that follows no protocols and no, like, they have no badges, and they don't have to show you, they're wearing masks, and we're going to set them a quota of, like, criminals they have to arrest. And they're just like every other human being. They don't want to go and actually deal with real criminals. So they're arresting the, Iranian dad in a Volvo with his kid in the back seat because his green card expired, and they're not going and, like, trying to infiltrate.
They want easy targets as much as everybody else.
Yeah. They're not trying to get shot at. They're, like, whining about the fact that they're protesting ICE. I don't understand. I'm just trying to do my job, and it's like, motherfucker, like, I don't know. Like, it's just crazy how the right is, like, celebrating a solution that's just as fucking evil as the problem they were trying to solve in the first place. And
it just feels like it's obviously going to be turned around like the Patriot Act, and we're going to see.
The whole goal was to push Palantir to begin with.
Yeah. Well, guys, I wish we actually have, like, a bunch of stuff that we didn't cover. I'm not going to read any of the $5 wrench attacks anyway, because it's just going to piss me off. And the fact that they're trying to make privacy illegal just in a backdoor way. But any final words? Because I do have to get out of here, like, ASAP.
What was it they were supposed to? That Steve's supposed to say at the end of every the
6102 bug. I mean, not excusing, not 6102.
6102.
21. Is it 2160? Or
I don't know. 21.
Whatever,
44.
Steve, you're not here, so it's not our fault.
What is the bug? What is it? It's the time bug?
It's the bug. The time bug. It's the timestamp bug, right?
Yeah, okay.
It's the Y2K of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's gonna die unless we fix this. We're standing in for Steve very poorly because we didn't even know what the hell it's called. Mechanic, any final thoughts?
Let's see what this third client brings. I'm kind of wondering what they're going to make with.
I'm interested.
I think they're not going to go the filter route because then it's pointless. They're not going to. It's not going to be core. I think they will just focus on the personnel, the team, and the funding, and be like, this is not going to be a woke, silly, leftist nut job institution like Core turned into, I think they're going to, it's going to be the based version of Core or something like that.
Man,
right?
I increasingly think that's like a hyper focus on like I'm not 100% like I don't fall in with that specifically, because this is a part of what I have, the same problem I have with like their criticisms of Luke is like Jameson Lopp wrote the piece about Luke, which I read, and there's like plenty of good like technical concerns, like things that like, okay, like that's fair to actually bring up, but then he just like kind of rips him apart as like he thinks masturbation's evil and like all of this stuff. It's like, dude, like I've known
None of
Luke
that
has
has
been
anything to
crazy,
do.
and as soon as you're like getting into this thing that like, oh, he's socially like this is like you shouldn't agree with him on this particular technical issue, because if you're bringing up technical things, that's a different thing. But because he believes all of this other stuff, like ideologically and like his Catholicism and like all of this stuff, like you don't want it to go there, because that's when you get like, okay, well, he doesn't think he's a woman, like, and like, I
Yeah.
don't think I should be judging them for the
Ava,
exact same
Ava.
reason. Like, I think that's a complete non-argument. Like,
I agree.
that's saying that Charlie Kirk is a racist, therefore I don't have to actually.
No,
address his
let me
argument,
be clear. I'm talking
Yeah.
about what I think Samson and those guys will focus on. I'm not
Okay.
talking about what I actually personally think. I think I like the way Knots works, and Knots is a rejection of an approach to Bitcoin that says mempool filters need to mimic consensus as closely as possible. I think that's a mistake.
Sure.
That's not a criticism of the people there. And I have steered clear of making personal attacks. I have made some inflammatory comments, but I'm not really about that. I do think Core is pretty woke, and I do have my suspicions around woke, people and stuff like that. But there's plenty of based people that work for Core. There's I know multiple Core developers that, are not woke, right? So I'm not making that. I'm just saying I'm trying to predict what Samson focuses on, because it has to have a selling point. And I think they're going to go down that here's who's behind it. This amazing rock star developer that has, he's like,
That's fair.
I'm just guessing something like that. I really agree with you. I hate all the personal attacks and stuff. And I do maintain that they've been much worse from the not Core themselves, but Core's defenders. And they've been, the attacks on Luke this week have been insane. And the Lopp article you brought up was that thing it says about Luke calling the FBI on Core developers is completely untrue. There's nothing else he could have done in that situation, and no one gets it. If you have your property stolen and they're talking constantly about unrealized capital gains tax, if they come around to you one day and they're like, okay, there's unrealized gains on Bitcoin, you owe us this much money, and you say it got stolen, they will say, where's the police report? And if you don't have one, they will not believe you, and they'll say you still have it. So he had to tell the authorities that his stuff got nicked. Otherwise, they would have just assumed he'd had it. I would have told him to do the same thing again, even despite what happened. The FBI then, of their own volition, went after Luke's activities and were like, well, where have you been? What have you done? Oh, you were at a conference. Then they went to the conference organizers and demanded the names of everyone there. That was not Luke. That was the authorities doing what they do. And there's nothing he could have done to stop it. So implying that he snitched on a bunch of Core devs is just that's just gross, man. He didn't do that. And unrealized gains is a thing in Europe. It's a thing in Japan. You can't afford to be sitting on a massive doxed stash of Bitcoin that gets stolen and not declaring it as stolen, because you're going to be on the hook for it, and you won't even have the money to pay for it because it will have been stolen. So I will defend that. That's a disgusting thing to say he did, because he never did that.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
All right. Sorry to end on that.
It was a fun show. No, it's
good.
I appreciate the caveat there. And we'll be back next month. I'll be covering a whole bunch of things that we actually talked about. I might even go over some of the Lopp's article. And we'll be back with Guys Roundtable. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Cheers.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode. And don't forget to check out everybody. Don't forget to follow everybody. And I will have tons of different links for a bunch of the news items that we got to, as well as some of the news items we did not get to. And of course, our amazing sponsors, Ledin, PubKey, and Synonym, and the work that they're doing, and the HRF, and getchroma.co, which I've also got some discounts and special links and stuff for you guys for pretty much all of them. So definitely check those out. And if you ever think about them in the future, come back to the description and use those links. That helps out the show, but then it also will help out you. So easy way to let them know that you heard about them because of me. Any other questions, shoot me a message. I'm on Nostr and Twitter. Tag me in something, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Until then, everybody, this has been the Roundtable, and that is our 2 cents.